Good evening. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. At 7 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock out there on the West Coast, President Trump will host a no tax on tips roundtable in Las Vegas, Nevada. Tomorrow, the Commander-in-Chief will travel to Arizona to deliver a speech at a tvOS event. Our RSBN host, Robert McNeely, and our camera crew on the way out there to Arizona. Be great to see them there. Also to see them interact with we the people outside of that event. Looking forward to that coverage. I'll be live right here in studio, but I'll tell you what, we're looking forward to this one tomorrow, of course. But a lot to get to before we get there. You got to take one day at a time, right? So our live coverage will start several hours before the event at 12 o'clock Eastern as we hear from you, the American people, outside the event prior to President Trump's speech. As soon as we see the president in Nevada today, we'll take you there live. This, as it's a very busy news day, a lot going on, including a Department of War press conference this morning. We're going to play that. On top of that, President Trump speaking with the press not too long ago. That has been uploaded. We're going to throw to that here in just a little bit as well. Let's first start out with a few of President Trump's Truth Social posts at this point. Let's go to clip number one. I just had an excellent conversations with the highly respected President Joseph Aoun of Lebanon and Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel. These two leaders have agreed that in order to achieve peace between their countries, they will formally begin a 10-day ceasefire at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. The two countries met for the first time in 34 years here in Washington, D.C. with our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. I have directed Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Rubio together with the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Raisen-Kane, to work with Israel and Lebanon to achieve a lasting peace. It has been my honor to solve 9 wars across the world, and this will be my 10th, so let's get it done. President Donald J. Trump. A few minutes later, President Trump also said, quote, in addition to that statement just issued, I will be inviting the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, and the President of Lebanon, Joseph Aoun, to the White House for the first meaningful talks between Israel and Lebanon since 1983, a very long time ago. Both sides want to see peace, and I believe that will happen quickly, President Donald J. Trump. All right, so that from President Trump earlier, 1983, I was 2 years old at that point, born in 1981. So anyway, we're going to go to a lot of the news that we're seeing out there in the 24/7 news cycle. And of course, you're going to hear a lot from the president here momentarily as he just finished speaking with the press there on the South Lawn of the White House on Air Force One right now. We'll be landing in Nevada and we'll head over to that Vegas event, which we'll have live right here on the network. Shifting gears for now, we'll get to President Trump and we're going to get to that DOW presser in just a minute, but let's shift over to the U.S. Department of Agriculture because Secretary Brooke Rollins said yesterday was the first tax day with President Trump's working families tax cuts in effect and rural America is already seeing real relief, end quote. Let's go to that clip, number 3, right now.
The working families tax cuts are also the largest investment in rural America in history. And they are breathing new life and new opportunity into the heartland and into rural fishing communities for our fishermen here by giving them the relief and the support that they deserve. There are so many wins for rural America in that Working Families Tax Cut Act that it would take me a really long time to go through them all. But to just name a few, number 1, averted the death tax exemption sunset by exempting 2 million family farms in America from the death tax. The act made it easier to invest in the family farm by making permanent 100% immediate expensing for capital-intense business investments. It allowed farmers to defer capital gains taxes over a 4-year period instead of all at once, when selling qualifying land if they sell to another farmer, supporting a new generation of farmers. That Working Family Tax Cut Act also committed $50 billion in rural health transformation program. Dr. Oz is running that for generations to come. It also drives $100 billion in rural investment. Again, y'all, this is unprecedented. Never before has there been an effort focused on rural America and rural communities and our agriculture communities, as was this last year with this Tax Cut Act. The $100 billion moving into opportunity zones in rural America, no longer just an urban America project, and it will change everything. For our farmers who had been waiting more than a decade for an increase in reference prices from 10 to 21% for many and most of our commodities, corn, soybeans, wheat, changes that provide up to $13 billion in additional revenue and price protection for our farmers starting this October is a game changer for a struggling rural economy.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke Rollins, your 33rd Secretary of Agriculture, and today is a big day because today is the first tax day since the Working Families tax cuts went into effect. And already all Americans from all walks of life are seeing real relief, especially Americans who live in rural communities and call the heartland home. Thanks to President Trump and the congressional Republicans' bold leadership, rural America is once again at the center of policymaking. And from building on America First trade wins with additional support for ag trade promotion to death tax relief and making permanent the 2 million family farms who will no longer be subject to the death tax, to crop insurance savings, to a stronger farm safety net, and so much more. President Trump's Working Families tax cuts are delivering for farmers, for ranchers, and for our next generation. This is indeed what putting American agriculture first again looks like. Our farmers and ranchers pour every fiber of their being into keeping America and the rest of the world clothed and fueled and fed. And now they have a president who will go to bat for them. President Trump will never stop fighting for the great patriots across this country, including rural America, who help make our freedom possible, and neither will we.
All right, so you saw there, of course, Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Agriculture for the United States government. Also on top of that, she used to run and actually started the America First Policy Institute. We'll have some people on the broadcast in just a little bit, speaking with them about the working families tax cuts that we're seeing, and also this tax calculator that's out there with America First Policy Institute. We'll get to some of that in just a minute. On top of all of this, when we talk about all the different stories and all the things that are happening out there, top of mind a lot of times is things like the Save America Act. We still are monitoring that. We still want to see that passed. We need that for our elections, for election integrity and election security. So we'll monitor that. And the same thing with the Department of Homeland Security partial government shutdown that is still ongoing. So it's been a few days now since Congress has been back in session. Obviously, that was April 13th for those that might not know. So they're back. Let's get the job done, as many are saying. And many, even in Congress, are saying the same thing on X. I was checking out a number of posts just yesterday. Speaking of posts, the White House posted a video about tax season. Let's go to clip 4.
There's a lot of things we don't look forward to. Laundry piling up, inbox overload after a trip, that appointment you keep putting off, bumping into your virtue signaling neighbor. Tax season. Not this year. This year, tax season is something you actually look forward to. Bigger returns and more money in your pocket. Thanks, President Trump.
And all of this live broadcast brought to you by a number of great sponsors as we get ready to go to the Silver State in just a bit from now. Let's go to MyPillow.com, based, of course, in Minnesota. MyPillow.com/RSBN. A lot of great products, as you guys may know. Check them out. All you have to do is go to that website, MyPillow.com/RSBN, for the warehouse moving sale. Save up to 80%, a number of awesome products there. So good quality, actually great quality products. On top of that, supporting conservatism, supporting freedom, supporting the great people that work at MyPillow, and also the great man himself, Mike Lindell, of course, running for governor in Minnesota, but has a number of awesome companies, including mypillow.com/RSBN. If you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate to assist. We have some great sponsors. We have some people that donate to the network and have done so for a number of years. However, we're looking for more. Why not? To grow and expand, it's always good to have extra funds to do that. And on top of that, all of the different travel that we do, like right now, our crew is literally on an airplane from Atlanta all the way out there to the West Coast to cover the trip for tomorrow, where President Trump will be speaking in Arizona. So obviously it doesn't cost any money for you to watch RSBN, whether you watch on our app or on Rumble or YouTube or X or wherever you watch, but definitely costs money to keep things going. So if you'd like to donate, just rsbnetwork.com/donate. Again, grassroots from 2015. I was watching some of the debates earlier today. Actually posted something on Truth Social, but the point is, back in 2016, you remember all the debates with President Trump and all the zingers that he would be throwing different directions? What a time it was then. Fast forward 10 years, here we are, second administration now, looking forward to things like the Save America Act passing and many other wins within the administration. So thanks so much for donating to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Joining us now is Jill Holman. She's with the America First Policy Institute. So thank you so much for joining us, Jill.
Thank you so much for having me, and really appreciate what you're doing with Right Side Broadcasting.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's talk about President Trump's working families tax cuts. It's quite the accomplishment. People are actually seeing more stacks of money come back at them, aren't they?
Absolutely. So this is another example of promises made, promises kept with the working families tax cut. And as your viewers may remember, the One Big Beautiful Bill was passed on July 4th last year. And so the provisions have been kicking in, and here we are now. And people are realizing that they're paying less in taxes. They're getting much more in refunds. And we're hearing a lot of people really surprised about the amount of refund that they're getting. And in fact, you can find out what your potential refund is on AFPI's calculators. If you just go to AFPI, look up working family tax cut, we have a calculator for you. And you can also look across your congressional district or across your state to see what folks are getting and how widespread this tax benefit is. And if I may share with you, so my home state of North Carolina, I'll just share a stat because what we're seeing are these are benefits that are going from North Carolina to New Mexico. And if you take in North Carolina, the average tax savings for North Carolinians is about $2,400. But if you are, for example, a family with more than 2 kids, you could be seeing an upwards of $6,600, so $6,600 in tax benefits. And if we go all the way to the other side of the country in New Mexico, our analysts have calculated that, for example, a police officer with a family and 2 children could be seeing about $6,100 in tax savings. So that's $6,100 back in their pockets. And just to finish right here, that is, that's money that is about halfway towards a down payment on a home on a home in New Mexico. And so these are, it's real dollars. It's really benefiting families. And then the last point I'll make is that it's not just about these tax refunds. What it's also about is because of this upfront expensing, and so because you can deduct the cost of equipment and improvements, and you can deduct more of that. What that means is that your businesses, and particularly your small businesses, are able to invest in the business and pay less in taxes. And so this really, it will reverberate through the economy. And again, an example of promises made and promises kept.
Just yesterday, we saw the SBA administrator, Kelly Loeffler. I mean, she must be smiling from ear to ear for small businesses across our country. They are the backbone of our economy, isn't it? A very large percentage of our GDP comes from small businesses across America, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And she's doing a fantastic job. And it's I saw her visiting in Baltimore, Maryland, where I'm originally from, and visiting a small business there and talking about the savings and not just the upfront deduction, but you also have qualified small business stock. So it's a provision where businesses can again encourage more capital formation and entrepreneurship in communities. And just on that point as well, one piece that I'm very familiar with is called Opportunity Zones, and President Trump has called it the most successful economic development program ever. But in the working family tax cuts, it made Opportunity Zones permanent. So this isn't just about, lifting up families and providing tax benefits. It's also lifting up those who are in need and communities in need, because with the Opportunity Zones tax provision, it's attracted $100 billion in investment into low-income communities and lifted 1 million people out of poverty. So this now is made permanent and will continue on in the positive economic development program that it is.
And we look forward to more and more of that here in the United States of America. Before I let you go, Joe, can you please share with us, when you first joined America First Policy Institute, what kind of, how did that all come about? Because that's a solid position there with AFPI.
Yeah, so I'm just honored to participate, and I will just have to say, AFPI views its mission as America First, and we represent the working families and the working folks, and you really have an organization of, in a good way, of true believers. So we're a nonprofit, and we really advance the policy of America First. And I was honored to join first to advise on Opportunity Zone tax incentive, and then that grew to handling, among other things, tax policy. And just I'm so excited to see these excellent policies that this administration is putting forward. And when you have fantastic people like Administrator Loeffler that's touring and promoting the work that the administration's doing, it just makes the job a whole lot of fun.
Definitely. And it's been great to speak with a number of your colleagues at America First Policy Institute. Jill Homan, thank you for what you're doing for the United States.
Thank you so much for having me, and look forward to being back anytime you'll have me.
Thank you so much, Jill. Sounds great.
Thanks. Great.
Awesome. This is what it is all about. People that are working for the American people, regardless if they're in specifically Washington, D.C. or spread out throughout the country. There are a number of the AFPI chapters. There's one in Georgia. There's one in Pennsylvania. There are a number of them out there. I believe there are 10, and that's growing. And AFPI, of course, doing some great work. So great to have Jill join us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network at about 7 Eastern. So we have a little bit of time. We'll see President Trump there in the Silver State. Sometimes these events actually happen a few minutes early. And I've got the receipts, or I have the receipts on that. There was a speech that President Trump delivered maybe 3 weeks ago. I don't recall where it was. I mean, obviously he travels all the time when it comes to various trips, but about 20 minutes prior to the speech engagement time, he stepped out on the stage. So if that happens, of course, we'll be ready to throw it to Nevada. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. What we'll do now is let's go to President Trump on the south lawn of the White House. Now, this was prior to him boarding Marine One. And of course, goes to the Marine One, over to JBA for the Air Force One, which he's on right now, about to land in Nevada sometime here in the next hour or so. But the president spoke with the press before he boarded Marine One. So let's take a look at that. This is the latest video from the White House.
The Pope criticized people who, quote, manipulate religion for political or military gain. Do you think that he's talking about you, sir?
It's very important that the Pope understands. Very, very important. It'd be nice not to say it. Iran killed 42,000 people that were totally unarmed. They were protesters. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they did, every country, including Italy, where he's stationed, every single country in the world would be in trouble. So we're doing very well with respect to that, having to do with the whole situation on Iran. The blockade is amazing. It's holding up very strong, very powerfully. And I think we're making a lot of progress in that. But the Pope has to understand Iran, very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. The world would be in great danger.
Would you meet with the Pope to even out your differences? Because Catholics are torn.
I don't think it's necessary.
Mr. President, you spoke with Prime Minister Modi just a couple of days ago. What was the conversation like? What is it that is on the table now?
I had a very good talk with him, and he's a friend of mine from India, and he's doing great. We had a very good conversation.
Are you considering extending the ceasefire with Iran?
With who?
With Iran.
We're doing very well, I can tell you. Maybe it'll happen before that. I'm not sure it needs to be extended. Just so you know, Iran wants to make a deal, and we're dealing very nicely with them. We've got to have no nuclear weapons. If we do, that's a big factor. And they're willing to do things today that they weren't willing to do 2 months ago.
Do you have any news about Ukraine? Do you have any news regarding peace in Ukraine?
Will Hezbollah stick to the ceasefire? Are you confident about that?
I think they will. I think it's going to be, actually it's very exciting because it's 48 years. We're going to be meeting with Bibi Netanyahu, as you know, and the president of Lebanon. And I had a great talk with both of them today. They're going to be having a ceasefire, and that'll include Hezbollah, and I think it could be number 10 for me.
Mr. President, do you have any news regarding peace in Ukraine? Do you have any news regarding peace in Ukraine?
Ukraine is moving along. I wish they could get along, frankly. A lot of people are dying in Ukraine. We'll see what happens. There's things happening there. We're focused so much right now in Iran, seeing if we can get that completed. And I think we're going to be and I think if you look, the stock market is good, the oil prices are coming down, and it's looking very good that we're going to make a deal with Iran, and it's going to be a good deal. It's going to be a deal with no nuclear weapons.
When is the next in-person round of negotiations on the war in Iran?
They're all important. I mean, it's not a question of around. All of them are important.
When will the next in-person
Probably, maybe over the weekend.
Will you send the Vice President?
Maybe over
Will you send the
Just so you understand, the blockade has been incredible. It's held. They're not doing any business. They're unable to do any business because of the blockade. And so the combination of having no Navy, having no Air Force, having no anti-aircraft equipment, they have nothing. Everything is gone, including their leaders. Now they have a new set of leaders, and we find them very reasonable.
On the 20-year minimum to stop enriching uranium,
Well, we haven't agreed to any. We haven't agreed to any.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll go right back to the remainder of the presidential press gaggle that happened on the South Lawn of the White House. Of course, we have to make time for our great sponsors here. We have some interviews, and we'll get back to, of course, the president. On top of that, we'll be seeing the president live here at 7 o'clock Eastern time. In the meantime, let's go to some of our sponsors, including All Family Pharmacy right there. Yesterday, with everything going on in the world, we talked about this as well. Supply chain issues, global instability, shortages that nobody's really talking about. Your access to medication is something that should be top of mind because most people don't think about it until they need something and then they can't get it. And by then, it's just too late. So we've been recommending All Family Pharmacy for a while now, and this is exactly why. They're an independent American pharmacy that helps you stay stocked and prepared. They carry hard-to-find medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue. How about NAD+, along with more than 400 everyday prescriptions for blood pressure, thyroid, diabetes, and more. And they make this whole process very simple. If you already have a prescription, you just send it to All Family Pharmacy, of course, a prescription from a doctor. If you don't have a prescription, you just go online, you fill out a quick form, a licensed doctor reviews it, and if appropriate, they handle the prescription and it ships right to your door. So this is about being prepared before you need it, not scrambling after the fact. And the people who have what they need in a crisis are the ones who simply planned ahead. So you don't have to wait until the shelves are empty. You can get ahead of it now. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to search for what you and your family might need and save 10% at checkout when you use the RSBN 10 promo code. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, Birch Gold Group. Specifically, when the dollar's convertibility into gold ended back in 1971, gold was fixed at $35 an ounce. And if you forward to today, the U.S. dollar has lost over 85% of its purchasing power. So gold, on the other hand, has increased in value by more than 12,000%. That's why central banks and others are buying gold at record levels. And here at RSBN, we always encourage you to consider diversifying your savings with physical gold from Birch Gold Group. But this all starts really with education. You got to know what you're getting into, right? Well, Birch Gold just announced their Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. So it's a free online event. It rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. So you sign up, you get free silver on your next purchase. You get even larger incentives as you go. So the more you learn, the more you can earn. But you must act now, as this special event only runs through April 30th. The dollar lost its anchor in 1971. You don't have to lose yours. Text the word Trump to the number 989898 to join Birch Gold's Learn and Earn Precious Metals event by April 30th. Again, text Trump to 989898 today. Joining us now is former U.S. Army officer and U.S. Border Patrol officer Amon Blair. Thank you so much for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for having me.
Definitely. All right. So first of all, thank you for your service to this country as a U.S. Army officer. And then I guess after that, you worked in the Border Patrol there along the southern border. Can you talk to us about both your military service and then what you did on the southern border for our country? And thank you again for doing that.
Sure. Yeah. So I was kind of a late bloomer. I actually served 22 years in the military. I didn't become an officer until I was 38. I went to OCS at 38 years old. And that was after I was in active duty. So I served as an officer in the Texas Army National Guard at the exact same time that I was Border Patrol agent. So I served as a Border Patrol agent in the Rio Grande Valley sector from 2013 to November of 2023 for a little over 10 and a half years. And so I actually served on the southern border under Operation Lone Star, so the Texas's mission as well. So I've seen the border itself from a military perspective, as well as one from federal law enforcement. And it's actually, unfortunately, they're very, very different perspectives. And that is unfortunately due to the lens of our current law enforcement. When you look at the Mexican cartels and how they actually operate, they've been foreign terrorist organizations for decades. However, when you look at them through the eyes of criminality alone, or law enforcement lens, or drug trafficking alone, then you're going to set your resources, your personnel, to counter that type of threat. And so, unless you go down there and look at the situation from more of the eyes of national security, like the military would, then you're able to add additional assets, personnel, technologies, intelligence, you name it, to the border. And that's really what the Trump administration did. When Trump came in this second time, he gave the order for U.S. Northcom to finally do their job since they were created in 2002, and that was to secure the border. And so you have the National Defense Area now covering from California all the way to El Paso, where the Department of War has somewhat taken over control to try to establish operational control of the border. Now, unfortunately, here in Texas, though, the majority of our border, about 95%, is private property. And so it's actually a lot more difficult for whether that's DHS or the U.S. Northcom under Department of War to actually maintain operation control from the Mexican cartels who have been acting with impunity for decades.
I did not know that stat. 95% of the border is privately owned?
Yes, sir, along Texas. And so that's why it's very difficult. Imagine you had a property there next to the Rio Grande. And imagine that you had foreign terrorist organizations that have completely taken over the country just across the river from you, and that they operate with complete impunity, both at the local all the way to the federal level. And you, as a property owner, now have to figure out, am I going to allow the U.S. government to operate on my soil if that means that the foreign terrorist organizations can actually just come onto my property freely and destroy my livelihood, destroy my family, kidnap my kids? And so that's what our farmers and ranchers and landowners across the entire state of Texas are dealing with. They're dealing with a situation that when I was in contingency operations overseas for the military, they were dealing with the same thing with ISIS, Al-Qaeda, or the Taliban. They either choose the U.S. forces or they have to choose the terrorist organizations. And that's kind of what our landowners and our citizens are dealing with on the southern border today.
So when you were a Customs Border Protection Patrol agent, when you had interactions with people that were homeowners, were they saying, glad you guys are here? Hey, down the street, that's a real hot spot for illegal crossings. I mean, was it that kind of thing, or is it more like the homeowners were kind of like, hey, it's our property, let's just like leave it alone? I haven't been to that border in Texas. I've been to the border in California. But yeah, can you fill in the blanks for me on that?
Sure. So you have like a few options. You have patriots, you have citizens that are multi-generational Texans, and they are there to protect their property, their livelihoods, and so they will work with the U.S. government. They'll work with the Border Patrol agents. They'll work with the Department of War, and they'll support all efforts. However, then you have two other options. You have those that are willing to work for both. They realize that they want protection, but they realize that the U.S. Border Patrol is an interdiction agency. They are not trained to the level with which we are expecting them to perform, meaning they don't conduct counterterrorism on our side of the border and conduct perimeter security. Therefore, these landowners realize that in order for them to protect their families, they're going to have to make a deal with the devil, and that is the cartels. And so they'll allow us Border Patrol agents and others on their property or technology or the wall, but knowingly that they're going to place it so it's actually advantageous for the cartels to move on their property as well. Then you have property owners that are just simply corrupted, that are completely working with the Mexican cartels. We're dealing with corruption, co-option, or coercion. And really that's what our landowners are facing.
So the Department of War, since President Trump, took office last year, of course, January 20th, and I want to ask you about that before I let you go in a second, what that must be like to see that now when you're not working as an agent, which you probably wish you were, but let's get back to it though. With the Department of War there now, they do have obviously that training and that counterterrorism kind of thing. So the job's getting done there, but as long as they stay there, right?
Right. So look, we haven't codified hardly anything that President Trump has actually done by executive order. Look, another president could come in tomorrow and say, you know what, Department of War and U.S. Northcom, that's not your mission anymore. I need you to pull back. So therefore, that's why we advocate at the state level to create the critical infrastructure necessary to make sure that there are no incursions. Exactly what the 2006 Secure Fence Act states, that we must make sure that there are no incursions across all domains. And so in order for us to make sure that this doesn't happen again, actually the states are also going to have to lead. Look, the states have concurrent authority to conduct security across the entire border, just like the Department of War or DHS. But they actually have the primary duty to do so, since really, just like in disaster response is always locals first, right? Well, our border right now, still to this day, is a disaster, especially to the south of us. And so therefore, it means that the states need to rise up and step up and realize that Congress is really slow rolling President Trump's executive orders, that the Department of War can only do so much so quick that the states are now going to have to rise up. So yes, it's great that we see this change from California, Arizona, and New Mexico, but really Texas is somewhat a little slower, and that's because of the property rights issues. And so it's once again, also, we're really not seeing counterterrorism on our side. We may see it on Mexico's side, but we're not seeing the dismantling of all the threat networks along the southern border. So the cartels are still able to smuggle human beings across the border. If I tell everyone in your audience should go and follow Lieutenant Chris Olivares. He's the PAO officer for Texas DPS. Almost every single day, he is showing the gotaways that are getting past Border Patrol that Texas DPS are then having to go after.
Quite the story right there. Amon Blair, again, thank you for your service to our country. And also, as a Border Patrol officer, can you talk to us about if President Trump was your commander-in-chief at that point? I'm sure you would have been a lot happier than having Biden than the others, right?
100%. And the difference is one person believes in our sovereignty and the Constitution of the United States. The other person wanted to eradicate our sovereignty. and continue to remain in power by exploiting illegal aliens and foreign nationals and creating a caste system inside the United States. So one is for the citizen and also our states and sovereignty, and then one was for complete eradication and for chaos.
You got to be on the right side of history, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Amon Blair, thank you again for joining us. It would be great to have you back on the broadcast. Great insight with Texas.
Oh, thank you, sir, for having me.
Definitely. Good stuff right there. You know, we talked about the border, the southern border, for a long time, at least when it comes to 2025. We'd be seeing the military along the border. I remember posting all these different photos or videos of seeing the U.S. Army or the Marines down there. It's just something you're not used to seeing, right? Boots on the ground, our military. But that's what was needed to curtail the problem that we saw under Biden. I like that guy, Amon Blair. Very cool. Be cool to have a lot of these guests back on here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Before we go back to President Donald J. Trump, the 47th Commander-in-Chief, as he was speaking with the press outside of the White House. We'll go to a couple sponsors, and then we'll go to that. Let's go to our first sponsor of this segment, Kalshi.com/RSBN. Of course, one of our great sponsors here. A lot of different topics to whether you're trading or betting or just checking out polls. A lot of people just use it just to check out polls, but a lot of people obviously are betting and trading as well. So just go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. Questions like, when is the DHS shutdown going to open up, or when is it going to be fully funded? People putting money on the line for that. Also, whether it's weather, science, technology, sports, faith, politics, you name it, pretty much it's on there. Kalshi.com/RSBN, great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We'll look at some more political trends in just a little bit. Also, Rumble Wallet, as you see there on your screen. Specifically, a number of people just started using Rumble Wallet. And I recently downloaded it on the App Store as well, just to peruse the site, check it out. And if you've ever been curious about buying and investing in crypto, Bitcoin, stablecoins, USAT or USAT, or even gold-backed stablecoins, but felt like it was too complicated, Rumble Wallet is an easy way to get started. You can buy, sell, and manage your cryptocurrencies all in one place. And the app is super straightforward. What really makes Rumble Wallet unique is that you can use it to tip your favorite creators like our network and support the Freedom First community we've built here on Rumble. And getting started is simple. Just download the Rumble Wallet app, sign up with your existing Rumble account. No need for a new login. Complete a few security steps and you're set up in minutes. You can start with just a few dollars. And with MoonPay, this new feature built into Rumble Wallet, you can actually easily buy crypto using your credit card, debit card, or bank wire. So if you've been thinking about the advantages of crypto, you can download Rumble Wallet right now. Click our link in the description or search Rumble Wallet in your app store. Download Rumble Wallet today and move your assets to where they belong, in your hands, in your control. And Rumble Wallet is a technology provider only and not a custodial service. You can see the terms at wallet.rumble.com. Rumble Wallet, another great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. 5:38 Thursday, April 16th. Thank God for certain medications like, I'll just name it, Zyrtec. Feeling a little under the weather today, but thanks so much for live streaming in with us as we get ready to go see President Trump there in the Silver State of Nevada. Speaking of President Trump, let's continue the press gaggle that happened outside of the White House moments ago.
What we have is we have a statement, very powerful statement, that they will not have, beyond 20 years, that they will not have nuclear weapons. That's beyond. There's no 20-year limit.
Any updates on Greenland, Mr. President?
I think that Todd Blanche is doing a very good job, from what I'm saying. I mean, all I can say thus far, I think Todd Blanche is doing a very good job.
If there's no deal, would you be willing to extend the ceasefire, or will the fighting resume, Mr. President?
I would say the fighting. If there's no deal, fighting resume.
Okay. And then on gas prices, how much longer will Americans continue to see these high gas prices?
Well, they're not very high. If you look at what they were supposed to be in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon, with the danger that entails. So the gas prices have come down very much over the last 3-4 days. I know, that's what ABC says. But the fact is that if you look at the stock market's up, everything's doing really well. And the big thing we have to do is we have to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, because if they do, you want to talk about problems, you'd have problems. So very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully. They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bombers. So we have a lot of agreement with Iran, and I think something's going to happen very positive. Very complicated subject. It's. I don't think we're waiting. I think we're moving very fast. It could happen pretty quickly.
How long you could sustain the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz?
The what?
How long you could keep the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz?
We're doing very well with the blockade. It's very routine for us. The Navy is incredible. And I think the blockade is doing very well. It's no ship is even thinking about entering. No ship is going past our Navy.
Why are you fighting with the Pope? And are you worried it's upsetting your
No, I don't. I have to do what's right. The Pope has to understand that. Very simple. I have nothing against the Pope. His brother's MAGA all the way. I like his brother, Louis. I'm not fighting with him. The Pope made a statement. He says Iran can have a nuclear weapon. I say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the Pope looked at the 42,000 people that were killed over the last 2 or 3 months as a protester with no weapons, no nothing, I mean, you take a look at that. So I can disagree with the Pope. I have a right to disagree. I have a right to disagree with the Pope.
What do you say to people who see that, who see your criticism?
You can't have, look, nothing, I have no disagreement with the fact the Pope can say what he wants, and I want him to say what he wants, but I can disagree. I think that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they do, the whole world would be at jeopardy. The Middle East will be blown up and the whole world will be at jeopardy. We're very close to making a deal. That'll be a great thing. The Pope has to understand, Iran has killed more than 42,000 people over the last few months. Think of it, protesters without guns, without anything. They were totally unarmed protesters. The Pope has to understand that. This is the real world. It's a nasty world. But as far as the Pope and saying what he wants, he can do that. Now, I know the Pope's brother. He is a big MAGA person. He's got MAGA all over his house. His name is Louis. He's actually a great guy. And I'm sure the Pope is a great guy. I haven't met him. But I disagree with the Pope. If the Pope would allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, you can't do that. No, not really. What?
I would like to ask you regarding congratulations for the 10th war.
Yeah, it's very exciting. With Lebanon, it's very exciting. I think we're going to have a deal. We're going to have a meeting, first time in 44 years. And Lebanon will be meeting with Israel, and they're probably going to do it at the White House.
When do you think, President, when do you think they will?
Over the next week or two.
Or the next week. And do you think this agreement can reach?
I do. I think they're going to. I think we will have an agreement between Lebanon, and they're going to take care of Hezbollah. But they're going to be working on Hezbollah right now. But we'll have an agreement between Israel, very importantly, and Lebanon.
Will you support our Lebanese army? Well,
I would. Yeah.
Iran's going to. Has Hezbollah agreed to the ceasefire? I mean, how do you even?
They're all agreeing. It's a very nice little package for about a week, and we're not going to have lots of bombs dropping, and we're going to see if we can make peace between Lebanon and Israel.
And this is around the Pope, President, because there was a group of bishops that did put out a statement saying the Pope isn't merely exercising his opinion, he's preaching the gospel. I mean, what do you say to people that view this as
I want him to
on
preach the gospel. I'm all about the gospel, but I also know that you cannot let a certain country, which is a very mean-spirited country, have a nuclear weapon. If they did, they would use it, and I think they'd use it quickly, and they would kill many millions of people. So, you know, the Pope could disagree with me on that, but certainly we're allowed to have that. I'm all about the gospel. I'm about it as much as anybody can be. But I can't allow, as President of the United States of America, I can't allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And here's the story. They won't have. They've already agreed not to have. That's good news, and I think the Pope will be very happy.
The Federal Reserve should wait and see about this Iran war before lowering interest rates. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree. I think we should have lower interest rates.
Iran is going to execute 4 more protesters.
All right, so we're going to take a break real quick, talk about a number of these sponsors, and we'll go back to President Trump for the third and final segment of the president speaking with the press there in just a second. In the meantime, let's go to covepier.com/RSBN. Of course, getting $250 off right now for those of you watching. So just go to covepier.com/RSBN. And you've heard us speak about Cove Pier before. And if the water scares in Flint, Michigan and East Palestine weren't enough to get you to make the switch, well, this might. More than 176 million Americans are drinking tap water with PFAs in it. There are those man-made chemicals used in food packaging, non-stick cookware, firefighting foam. Scientists call them forever chemicals because once they're in your body, they stay there, they don't break down, and then they're linked to hormone disruption, immune damage, and increased cancer risk. But here's the part that should make you and yours upset, because the EPA set legal limits for PFAS in drinking water back in 2024, but water systems have until 2031 to comply. It's a total of 5 years from now. And until that deadline arrives, a utility can be operating above the legal limit right now and isn't required to notify you. So you're just drinking that water. That's why every single household needs this product, Cove Pure. The government knows these chemicals are harmful enough to regulate. They're just not making anyone act on it quite yet, which means if you want clean, healthy water, you're going to have to do it yourself. So Cove Pure was engineered exactly for this. Unlike the normal pitcher filters that you see at the store, their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is actually certified to remove up to 99%, specifically 99.9% of contaminants. So those PFAs or heavy metals or fluoride, pharmaceuticals, filtering these particles hundreds of thousands of times smaller than a single human hair. And the best part about Cove Pure is they make this whole process so easy. It fits right in your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call someone in to install it. You just plug it in and it sits right there on your countertop. So you can even get whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm, with a tap of a button. So you don't have to wait until 2031. You can take control of your water quality right now. Head to covepier.com/RSBN. And again, because you're a viewer of this broadcast, you'll get $250 off right now. That's covepier.com/RSBN. Let's also go to All Family Pharmacy right there. With everything going on in the world right now, supply chain issues or global instability, shortages that not many people are talking about, your access to medication should simply be something that's top of mind, because most people don't think about it until they need something and then can't get it. And by that, it's just too late. So we've been recommending All Family Pharmacy for a while now, and this is exactly why. They're an independent American pharmacy that helps you stay stocked and prepared. They carry hard-to-find medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, NAD+, along with more than 400 everyday prescriptions for blood pressure, thyroid, diabetes, and more. They make the whole system very easy. It's a very easy process. Already have a prescription? Your doctor can send it straight to them. If you don't have one, just go online, fill out a quick form. A licensed doctor reviews it, and if appropriate, they handle the prescription and it ships right to your door. So this is not about getting the wrong thing going on here. This is about being prepared before you need it, not scrambling after the fact. So the people who have what they need in a crisis are the ones simply who planned ahead. So don't wait until the shelves are empty. You can get ahead of all of that now. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to search for what you and your family might need, and save that 10% at checkout when you use the RSBN10 promo code. You can also use that QR code right there. All Family Pharmacy, another great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So glad you're with us. Getting ready to go to the Silver State in just a minute to see the most famous person on earth, the leader of the free world, the 47th president, Donald J. Trump. And on top of that, from Nevada, he'll go to Arizona tomorrow for a speech. We'll have that live coverage right here on Right Side, and we'll have boots on the ground there in Arizona, speaking with basically friends and family. We, the people, are friends and family. That's a community that we love here at Right Side Broadcasting Network and within conservative media as a whole. So we're looking forward to hearing from you guys out there in the Grand Canyon State. Before we get back to the third and final segment of the replay from President Trump, where he was speaking with the press just within the hour. Let's go to one of his Truth Social posts that just happened within the past 10, 15 minutes. He may have typed this one up on Air Force One as he's getting ready to land in Nevada. President Trump recently posted about New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani saying, quote, "Sadly, Mayor Mamdani is destroying New York. It has no chance. The United States of America should not contribute to its failure. It will only get worse. The tax policies are so wrong. People are fleeing. They must change their ways, and fast. History has proven this stuff just doesn't work." Thank you for your attention to this matter. President DJT. Speaking of President DJT, let's go back to him. This is about an hour and a half ago on the South Lawn of the White House.
Including the first woman protester, what do you tell Iran?
Well, tell that to the Pope.
President Trump
What do you say? Tell that to the Pope.
You want to patch things up with the Pope?
That Iran is going to...
Lebanese people love you so.
Did you just hear that? Iran is going to execute 4 people, including a woman?
President Trump, the Lebanese love you so much. When you visit Lebanon...
Do you extend the ceasefire? What makes you to extend that?
I don't know if we're going to have to, but if we need to, I would do that.
Wait, that's important. Sorry.
Airlines, what are you telling the airlines and the oil companies about the way you're going to open up the Strait of Hormuz?
If you look at the oil and if you look at the price we're paying, it's about half what people thought it would be if you did what I had to do. We had to take this journey to the Middle East in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon. There would have been, if we didn't hit it with the B-2 bombers, or if I didn't kill the Barack Hussein-Obama deal, the nuclear deal, which was a disaster, we would have had nuclear weapons exploding in the Middle East and beyond. I believe I've been able to stop that. I think we have a very successful negotiation going on right now, and I think it'll be, if it happens, it'll be announced fairly soon, and that'll give us free oil, free Hormuz Strait, everything will be nice, and I think your oil price will go down to lower than what it was before, and I think a lot of good things will happen.
Just for clarity, you're willing to extend the ceasefire if there is no deal?
We'll see. I don't know that we'll have to. Ideally, we'll, but if I needed to, I would.
The Lebanese people love you so much. What do you say? The Lebanese people love you so much. What's your message for them? And you will visit Lebanon after this deal?
I will do that. At the right time, I would certainly go there.
You know, Putin doesn't want to stop it apparently. He keeps bombing Ukraine. You think this war has the potential to go on for years more?
Well, it should have never started. If I were president, the war in Ukraine never would have started with Russia. But it's going on. Hopefully it'll get over soon.
Have you spoken with Putin? Came out last week and said she had no link to Jeffrey Epstein.
Who did?
The First Lady, Melania Trump.
She had none.
Why did she come out and say that last week?
Because the fake news was saying she did, and she had none, and I think that's been proven. It bothered her that the fake news was being fake news, so she just wanted to clarify.
Were you surprised?
Who's taking care of Hezbollah? Do you think that they are destroying the deal that you are trying to make?
We're going to see how it all works out, but they'll be working and coordinating. If you know Lebanon, right? So they'll be working with Hezbollah.
If you fire Jay Powell,
are you interested in acquiring Iranian oil?
What?
Are you still interested in acquiring Iranian oil after?
Well, we'll see. I mean, we have a very good relationship with Iran right now, as hard as it is to believe. And I think it's a combination of about 4 weeks of bombing and a very powerful blockade. The blockade is maybe more powerful than the bombing, if you want to know the truth.
Are you going to make the Arab countries pay a portion of all of the costs?
I think they'll make that. I think they're going to make that contribution. I think the Arab countries, because we've done a lot, I think they'd make a contribution toward the cost. Yeah. Not been involved.
The deal of Lebanon is different than Iran. Iranian assets without any condition. If you make a deal,
we're going to see what happens, but I think we're very close to making a deal with Iran. You'll be the first to know, but I think we have a chance. And if that happens, oil goes way down, prices go way down, inflation goes way down, and you're going to have, much more importantly than even that, you won't have nuclear holocaust. Thank you.
What's happening now?
Well, possibly, but I think a deal could be reached. Possibly. I would be foolish not to. I mean, if we're close to a deal, would I extend? Yeah, I would do that. but we're close to a deal. We're getting along very well with the new Iranian leaders. It really is, it's regime change. These are people that are a lot different than we were dealing with at the beginning. As you know, they're no longer around. They're no longer with us. But we have a very good relationship, and I think there's a very good chance that we're going to make a deal. Also, Israel and Lebanon, I think there's a good chance that they'll make a good deal. So,
Mr. President, when are they coming here?
Any reaction to Russia's overnight attack on Kiev? They killed 20 more Ukrainians.
I think it's terrible.
Mr. President, are you going to send any cabinet member to China before your visit?
Well, I have a great relationship, as you know, with President Xi, and I look forward to being there. We have a very special relationship, so I look forward to being in China.
How's the preparation going? Mr. President, thank you. Mr. President, you impose sanctions on Rwanda because they keep violating the Washington Accord.
Yeah, I do.
But President Kagame just said he don't care about sanctions, and he said he will not withdraw from Congo. His troops will continue in Congo. What is your reaction to
We're
that?
going to look into it very strongly, but they do have very big sanctions.
Mr. President, there was a G20 meeting in Washington today. Why did you invite Poland instead of South Africa?
Well, Poland's a great country. We like it a lot. We're friends with Poland. The president is doing a great job, so we invited him.
Mr. President, would you agree to the
President, I saw your Truth Social post about Bruce Blakeman in New York. He's being denied up to $7 million of public campaign funds in New York by partisan Democrats. Have you seen that, and what's your reaction to it?
I can just tell you this. Bruce Blakeman is running for governor. He will be a great governor if he wins. I don't know that he wins or not because it's New York, and you know, people cheat on elections and a lot of other things. But Bruce Blakeman is a great, great gentleman. As you know, he comes from Nassau County, which is a Democrat area, and he wins by a landslide all the time. And if Bruce Blakeman gets in, your taxes are going to go way down, and a lot of good things are going to happen, including cleanliness and all of the things that you want to see. I know him very well. He's been a great leader, a great executive in Nassau County. Even though it's largely Democrat, he wins in a landslide. Everybody loves him. He's a very talented guy, very great politician, and I think he probably has a chance. If Bruce Blakeman gets in, your taxes are going way down, and you know what else is going down? Crime.
President Trump, there are these 10 missing scientists with access to classified stuff, nuclear material, aerospace. They've all gone missing or turned up dead in the last couple months. Based on what you've been briefed, what do you think is happening here, and do you think that this is connected or totally random?
Well, I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half. I just left a meeting on that subject, so pretty serious stuff. But we're going to be hopefully, I don't know, coincidence, if you whatever you want to call it. But some of them were very important people, and we're going to look at it over the next short period.
Is it possible that some foreign adversary is in the United States scooping these people up?
Well, you know, Biden had open borders. It wasn't very hard to get here, but we've gotten many of them out. You know, we've caught many, many people, many very bad people, including thousands of murderers that we've taken out of our country, thousands of drug lords that we've taken out of our country, hundreds of thousands of prisoners that were let into the U.S. that we've taken out of our country. As far as the scientists are concerned, we'll probably have a pretty good answer over the next week.
And with the peace talks in Iran, does it have to be a big deal all at once, or would you accept a little deal to start?
Well, I have a little deal. I can make a little deal. I want to get it done and get back to keep going with low. You know, our pricing is doing great. As soon as the war is over, we're going to be lower than we were 2 or 3 years ago. So I want to get back to that. We had to do something. We had to make sure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. And we're at that. They've agreed to that. They've totally agreed to that. They've agreed to almost everything. So maybe if they can get to the table, there's a difference. They agree. They're going to get to the table with a pen. We'll have that over with. And then we can focus on our great economy. And also, you know, I inherited the highest prices in the history of our country, the worst inflation in the history of our country. I'll get it down to a very low number. We had it to a very low number, and it's still low. But the most important thing right now is to make sure Iran can never have a nuclear weapon.
Mr. President,
would you ever go to Pakistan to seal the deal yourself?
I would go to Pakistan, yeah. Pakistan has been great. They've been so good. Islamabad, I might go. Yeah.
President,
If the deal is signed in Islamabad, I might go. The field marshal has been great. The prime minister has been really great in Pakistan. So I might go. They want me to
Mr.
go.
President, the First Lady last week called on Congress to further look into and uncover the truth on the Epstein files, the Epstein saga.
Yeah.
Do you believe that there should be a public hearing for more of these Epstein survivors?
Well, I'm okay with it. I think we've had a lot of public hearings. I'm okay with it. But I understand that the women didn't want to go under oath. That's what I heard. That the women, the victims or whatever, they refused to go under oath, which was a little surprising. Now, Melania felt strongly about it because she was accused of that I met her through Epstein, but it turned out to be totally false. It was a false arrest.
Mr. President,
Don't these ceasefire also include Iraq and region?
Are we talking about the one with Lebanon?
Lebanon, Iraq,
Yeah,
and
well, the whole thing. So we just made a deal with Lebanon. As of 2 hours from now, we have a ceasefire with Israel and Lebanon, and that'll be great. And they'll be meeting, probably coming to the White House over the next 4 or 5 days.
have the Epstein survivors...
And that'll be the first time they've met in 44 years, which is pretty unneighborly when considering they're neighbors. But there's a really good chance that that'll work out with Lebanon and Israel. I met with, through the telephone, with the president of Lebanon, who's a really good guy, highly respected, and with Bibi. And I think there's a chance we'll be meeting right here in the not too distant.
Have the Epstein survivors received justice? Do you think the Epstein survivors have received justice?
Israel and Lebanon have tried to make peace before. What's going to be the difference this time?
Me. I'm the big difference. Me.
Australia has announced, Mr. President, about taxes. States like Virginia, North Carolina, and New York, Democratic states, are looking at raising taxes. Is that going to take away from the tax cuts?
What's happened? No, because, no tax on tips. I'm going over no tax on tips today. That's why I'm going to Nevada. I'm going to Arizona. But this is sort of a no tax on tips. What's happening is people are finding out that in their tax returns, they're getting a big refund, much bigger than they thought. So it's no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. I think wait. I think it's going to be amazing. But if you look at what they're doing in New York, in California, they're raising taxes and they're driving people out. It's a shame.
Australia has just announced that it's increasing its defence spending to 3%. You've been asking for 3.5%. Are you satisfied?
We're going to see what happens. But on defense spending, look, we built the greatest military anywhere in the world. There's nobody even close. All you have to do is take a look at the blockade. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. That blockade is the best thing. And I'll tell you something. I think the blockade has been more powerful than the bombs. The bombs were powerful, and it weakened them. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. They have no anything. They have no leaders. But their new leaders, the ones that have replaced them, it's a regime change. They are much more, I think, frankly, more intelligent and more moderate. But we have a real chance to make a deal very soon with Iran.
Just on Australia, they've increased defence spending.
On Australia, Mr. President, you asked for 3.5% increase, like 5% you did with NATO. Australia has only gone to 3%. Are you satisfied with that decision? Would you
Well, I'm
consider
not happy
reviewing
with
defense
Australia because
Why
they were not
specifically?
because they were not there when we asked them to be there. So Australia.
What did you ask for?
Australia was another one. They were not there, having to do with Hormuz, the Hormuz.
What do you mean by that?
Still friendly with Albanese?
I'm not happy. I'm not happy.
But why specifically? Do you still have a good relationship with the Australian Prime Minister?
What message do you think the ceasefire in Lebanon sends to the UK and other European allies who chose not to get involved in the war?
Well, we spend trillions and trillions of dollars on NATO. And when I asked them to get involved on a much smaller situation, which is Hormuz and Iran, they weren't there for us. Remember what I said. They weren't there. None of them. They weren't there. So we were there on Ukraine. I mean, we shouldn't have been. It would have never happened if I were president. But nevertheless, when they've had problems over the years, we were there. When we asked them to get involved on a very minor skirmish by comparison to what it could be, they weren't there. So I don't think they'd be there for a large skirmish, and therefore I think they've got themselves a problem.
Do your policies like no tax on tips, no tax on overtime
show that the Democrat Party is no longer the party of the working class and the Republican Party under your leadership actually
I
is?
love this question.
I know.
This is the greatest guy. Look how handsome he is. What a great guy he is. Yes, the Democrats don't know what they're doing. They want to tax everybody out of business. They want men playing in women's sports. They don't want voter ID. They don't know what they're doing. We've had an unbelievable run, and the people getting their tax returns and they're coming back, and they're ending up getting $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 more than they thought possible.
Mr. President, do you think the Pope was being disrespectful to you, sir?
The who?
The Pope. Do you think he was being disrespectful to you?
I don't think about it that way. The Pope has to understand that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And the Pope has to understand that you can't let a country kill 42,000 protesters, totally unarmed protesters. You can't do that. So the Pope, you know, I know his brother. His brother's MAGA all the way. You know that. Louis is a great guy. But the Pope has to understand you're not allowed to kill 42,000 protesters who are totally unarmed. And you cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon, or the entire world could be gone. And, you know, when the Pope realizes that, I think we'll have a different understanding.
Mr. President, does energy dominance mean that Europeans should be buying more gas and oil from the United States?
Well, they should be buying more from us, and what they should be doing is using the North Sea. I can tell you, UK, I've been telling that to your Prime Minister, UK should open up the North Sea. It's one of the greatest in the world, and they should use it instead of buying oil from Norway and other places that use the same source. They should use it, and they're not doing it. They're doing windmills, and windmills do one thing. You know what they do? Put you out of business.
Mr. President, did you recently talk to Mr. Erdogan or the regional leaders about the peace deal or the peace talks about?
We're dealing with everybody. We're dealing with all of the leaders on many different subjects. We're very close to a deal with Iran. Thank you.
President Trump taking quite a while there, speaking with the press, gave them a lot of opportunity to ask questions, all sorts of topics, as you guys heard on this program right here, live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to a few of our sponsors as we continue on with our broadcast, Kalshi.com/RSBN. At last check, you can go to Kalshi.com. You can check out the different topics that are there. One of them is elections, sports, culture, politics. So I click the politics button. How long will the government shutdown last? At least 100 days, at least 95 days. People are betting, trading, just checking out polls. Another question, when will traffic at the Strait of Hormuz return to normal? Well, as of right now, it is normal except for specifically Iran and the ports and that coastline. We're going to get into some more details about that coming up from the Department of War. Obviously not normal for Iran right now because of the blockade. But that's a question there with Kalshi. How about U.S.-Iran nuclear deal? Who will be Trump's next attorney general? Says Lee Zeldin, Todd Blanche, that kind of thing, as Todd Blanche is the acting attorney general. So we'll see what happens there. But those are some of the trending political questions that people are actually putting money on the line right this second. But also, you can check out the polling, as I mentioned, Kalshi.com/RSBN, the QR code that you see there on the bottom of your screen, or just download the app. Great sponsor here on Right Side. Let's go to Rumble Wallet as well. A number of people just started using Rumble Wallet. I recently downloaded the app. Pretty cool stuff. You can check it out too. And if you've ever been curious about buying and investing in crypto or Bitcoin, stable coins, USAT, or even gold-backed stable coins, but felt like it was just too complicated, Rumble Wallet is an easy way to get started. You can buy, sell, and manage your cryptocurrencies all in one place. And this is the app that is super straightforward. What really makes Rumble Wallet unique is that you can actually use it to tip your favorite creators like our network and support the Freedom First community we've built here on Rumble. So getting started is simple. Just download the Rumble Wallet app, sign up with your existing Rumble account. No need for a new login. Complete a few security steps, and then you're set up in minutes. You can start with just a few dollars, and with the new feature called Moon Pay built into Rumble Wallet, you can easily buy crypto using your credit card, debit card, or bank wire. So if you've been thinking about, the advantages of crypto, you can download Rumble Wallet right now. Click our link in the description or search Rumble Wallet in your app store. Download Rumble Wallet today and move your assets to where they belong, in your hands, in your control. Rumble Wallet is a technology provider only and not a custodial service. You can see terms at wallet.rumble.com. Great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's 6:09, Thursday, April 16th. Thanks again for live streaming and with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so we have an interview coming up. Let me double check a couple things here on the fly. At 6:15, so just a few minutes from now. And then we'll have another interview at 6:30. So what we'll do is, in that framework, we're also going to air the Department of War press conference. We'll dip in and out of that as time permits. But let's talk about this, because as our country prepares to host the FIFA World Cup this summer, Alabama Senator Katie Britt wants to make sure the Department of Homeland Security is fully operational. Let's check out clip number 5.
When you're looking at the fact that we have over 5 million fans that are expected to attend the upcoming World Cup, I know you've been given the responsibility to secure what is probably one of the most visible, widely attended, and globally impactful sporting events in the world today. I know that responsibility is not an easy one, but we are grateful for your willingness to take it on your shoulders. That being said, I think it's important to note that this hearing is obviously being held against the backdrop of a shutdown of DHS. I want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to get DHS fully funded, to make sure that the resources are there for each one of you and the collaboration is at full maximum potential there. Look, international sporting events are a great unifier, from the Miracle on Ice in 1980s to the Dream Team in 1992 to even just watching us beat Canada, both men and women, on in the hockey arena. Nothing compares to cheering on our country, and nothing is more unifying. I am excited for us to have that moment again. I think we need it as a nation and help us refocus on what brings us together. But in doing that, we want to make sure that those spaces are safe. As someone who attends football events regularly, whether that's football championships, which I would like to attend more of, it's been a little lax in the last few years, or it's the Super Bowl. We want to make sure that we are giving you the tools that you need and that we're having proper communication and collaboration to keep Americans safe. In what's in front of us with the World Cup, we know we'll have people traveling from across the globe to participate in these events. So it's imperative today that we talk about where your resources are, what your mission is, how you're making sure that you're working together, and then are there things that we need to be doing to give you those tools? Or are there impediments in the law that allow you or inhibit you from working with local actors in a way that you need to, local law enforcement, in the way that you need to keep people safe? As the world's eyes are upon us, and they will be, we want to make sure we not only elevate great games, but we do it in a safe and a secure environment. So thank you all for heeding to that mission. Thank you for your tireless service and work in completing that. And please use today as an opportunity to make sure that we hear from you what you need to achieve that ultimate goal.
And if you listened closely, at the end of the day, we need to have the Department of Homeland Security reopened. Still, it's open, but it's not fully funded. So the TSA agents received their paychecks thanks to President Trump signing a memorandum for that. But still, the DHS shutdown, I believe, is up to 2 months now, pushing past the 60-day mark. So we'll see how that all transpires, including the Save America Act being debated on that House floor or on the Senate floor at this point. We'll see what happens there. Joining us now is Curtis Houck. He is the managing editor at the Media Research Center, Newsbusters. Thanks so much for joining us once again, Curtis.
No problem.
So let's talk about the mainstream media. They're at it again. They're not covering stories that are important to the American people. I understand you have a few of the research items there as well.
Yeah, from time to time, unfortunately, we have to come to you with stories of illegal immigrant crime that are not being covered by the liberal elites and network media. Now, the way I always want to frame these kinds of stories is, along with fraud, like in Minnesota and Los Angeles, big crime stories like this are not left or right. This is very simple, bare bones good public service enterprise journalism. And so what we have here this time are 4 illegal immigrant crime stories that have largely been ignored. The first one we have here in Fort Myers, a lot of viewers may have seen this one. A woman was brutally beaten to death with a hammer outside of a convenience store in Lee County, Florida. The president actually has done true social posts about it. CBS News, 142 seconds, so that's almost 2.5 minutes. The other 2, ABC and NBC, nothing really there. A story in Missouri. An Obama-era legal accused of murdering a 15-year-old boy who begged for his life. Also ignored. A legal immigrant in Dallas is accused of killing his wife. And finally, an illegal immigrant in Fairfax County, Virginia, where up until maybe recently, there have been more murders by illegal immigrants in dark blue Fairfax County than murders by native-born Americans, is accused of killing his 3-month-old child. And these kinds of stories, I just have to say, you know, the drive-bys, consumers, you know, as vivid and graphic as they are, this is the kind of thing that the press would normally be interested in. Crimes of passion or husband, you know, the country, you may recall, was obsessed with a mother who drowned her children in a bathtub maybe 20, 30 years ago. But when it comes to stories like this, because of the alleged perpetrators, they're not interested.
Exactly, and that's what we're seeing because these are criminal illegal aliens. It's a great point. It's great to highlight these things to show that the press, the mainstream press, uses those 3 tactics. Specifically, I saw these with you guys talking about this as well, the gatekeeping reality, the censorship by silence, and the victim gap. So let's go over some of the gatekeeping reality, how network news filters and softens what Americans are already seeing in real time on social media, but not reporting about these crimes. So we just heard about that case right there. And Robert McNeely the other day, if you were watching or if anyone was watching, went over a number of these atrocious crimes thanks to Rapid Response 47 posting about them. So it's that kind of thing. They just don't want to cover it. It's that censorship by silence, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the quote can be attributed to Ari Fleischer, who says often the worst kind of media bias is the kind of stories that you don't see. You know, while people love and I don't know if love's the right word, but they love to get angry about the liberal hot takes, the insane things that my colleague Nick Funacaro at The View finds, for example, or I used to find back in the day watching Joy Reid and Chris Matthews. But I think some of the stories that are most sadistic and damaging to the public and the media's trust are stories that aren't covered. So, I mean, we can take it just on the base level here, individual to individual murder, or you can zoom out to the country writ large, what is done to them by the Biden border crisis, or you could even go to a completely different topic of, you know, Hunter Biden's laptop, for example, where that actually has an impact on not only the way people perceive certain candidates, but affect electoral outcomes. Or you can even go back to the first term of President Trump, years of the liberal media. We found over 2,000 minutes on the networking news case accusing him of being a Russian agent. A phrase that I like to use is, it's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube. It is psychologically, it's not necessarily our fault. It's just, as humans, we're conditioned to what we normally hear the most about something is what we often settle with as our view of something. It takes a very dramatic event or very direct set of facts or just being a skeptic to change your opinion.
Loud and clear. And you're speaking the playbook of the mainstream media. It's called brainwashing, in my opinion, right? It's just not talking about globalists, deep state. It's just kind of like, oh, it's business as usual. And I think that's one thing that we're seeing, Curtis, is it isn't business as usual anymore. We need to pass the Save America Act, right? They should be talking about this every day. Your thoughts about something like that? I mean, let's talk about something that the mainstream media is not going to really push for the Save America Act passing, right?
Well, Save America Act, you know, talking about how, you know, more than 3/4 of the country supports voter ID. I believe I saw a poll that said that there was support from about 6 in 10 Americans for DHS to be able to have access to the voter rolls to double check to make sure that the voter rolls do not contain any illegal immigrants, because obviously there's no one better than DHS to be able to tell you that. Or a story that I just read about today at Newsbusters, how the networks have not covered on their morning and evening shows the documents that were released by DNI Gabbard regarding the Russian or the first Trump impeachment, the Trump-Zelensky phone call, the whistleblower in that case, how he had worked for Joe Biden, he had been to Ukraine with Joe Biden, he had ties to Democrat candidates, he was an avowed Democrat partisan, how those documents by the Intelligence Community Inspector General were omitted from even House Intelligence Committee members, the people tasked with oversight of the Intelligence Committee. That is the deep state in of itself. And, the media say, well, this is all news. We don't want to look back on these kind of things. Well, the left is always telling us how America is a racist country. We have to talk about, how terrible we are and we have such generational sin, instead of talking about the positive, about how we can grow and learn from these kinds of things. And that's what we're trying to say here. We want to learn from our mistakes, well, other people's mistakes, not ours, but so those kind of things don't happen again.
Exactly, and that's what we're seeing with the mainstream media. They act like there's a bunch of people across the country that are on team leftist media. Now, there are people that are brainwashed or paid protesters, that kind of thing. But wouldn't you agree that the massive majority of the population of the United States of America, and I'm talking not just majority, massive majority, are on the right side of history? These are just people that love God, family, and country, don't they?
Right. And the thing is with the Save America Act, too, is the left hasn't talked about the fact that in states like mine, Virginia here, it has voter ID. And the Democrats still win. What we're saying is, let the best, man or woman win, candidate win, when the rules are fair. It's very hard to be against that. So instead of being against it, in many cases, they just choose not to cover it. Now, if you want to be crazy like The View and try to argue that, and you say all kinds of false things like you need your original birth certificate, even though that's not true, in order to register to vote, and married women won't be able to vote, and black people won't be able to vote, all those kinds of things. But I'm always in favor of giving people as much information as possible. People are smarter than the media give them credit for.
It's so true. It's so true. Curtis Houck, the managing editor at the Media Research Center, Newsbusters. Where can people follow your work?
Newsbusters.org, Newsbusters on all your social media platforms. I'm Curtis Houck, all one word, CurtisHouck, and download our Newsbusters app on Google Play and Apple.
Awesome. Curtis, thanks again for your insight and just talking about the mainstream media once again with what they do to really censor by silence, So thanks again, Curtis, for joining us here on Right Side.
No problem.
Good stuff. Always good to speak with the Media Research Center, Newsbusters. They've been around for a number of years, really exploiting what the mainstream media isn't covering or how they're covering various stories. Some huge story, maybe they're giving it 2 minutes, and then they give some other story, we're talking about the mainstream media, 5 hours of coverage. This whole thing is an information war. I know you guys know that, but man, it's wild to be a part of it in a way. All right, it's 6:23 Eastern, Thursday, April 16th. Let's go to some of our sponsors as we get ready to go to the Silver State, covepure.com/RSBN. Of course, you've heard us talk about Cove Pier before. And if the water scares in Flint, Michigan, and East Palestine, Ohio weren't enough to make you switch, well, this might. More than 167 million Americans are drinking tap water with PFAs in it. They're man-made chemicals used in food packaging, non-stick cookware, firefighting foam. Scientists are saying, hey, these are forever chemicals because once they're in your body, they're there to stay. They don't break down. They're linked to hormone disruption, immune damage, and increased cancer risk. But here's the part that should make you and yours upset. Because the EPA, they set legal limits for PFAs in drinking water back in 2024, but the water systems around the country have until 2031 to comply. So that's a whole 5 years from now. Until that deadline arrives, a utility can be operating above the legal limit right now and isn't required to notify you. So you're just drinking that tap water. with that awful aftertaste as well. That's why every single household needs Cove Pure. The government knows these chemicals are harmful enough to regulate. They're just not making anyone act on it yet. Which means if you want clean, healthy water, you're going to have to do it yourself. Cove Pure was engineered exactly for this. Unlike the normal pitcher filters that you see there at the store, their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is actually certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So those PFAs and heavy metals, the fluoride, pharmaceuticals, filtering particles hundreds of thousands of times smaller than a single human hair. And the best part about Cove Pure is to make this so easy. It sits right on your countertop, as you see there. You don't have to drill any holes or call someone in to install it. You just plug it in. You can even get water temperature from hot, cold, and warm with a tap of a button. You don't have to wait till 2031. Take control of your water quality right now. You can head to covepure.com/RSBN. And because you're a viewer of this broadcast, you'll get $250 off right now. That's covepure.com/RSBN. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy as well. With everything going on in the world right now, the supply chain issues or global instability, shortages that not many are talking about, your access to medication is something that really should be top of mind because most people, don't think about it until they need something and can't get it. And then by that, it's just simply too late. So we've been recommending All Family Pharmacy for a while now, and this is exactly why. They're an independent American pharmacy that helps you stay stocked and prepared. They carry hard-to-find medications like ivermectin or how about hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, and NAD+, along with more than 400 everyday prescriptions for blood pressure, thyroid, diabetes, and more. And they make this process simple. If you already have a prescription, your doctor can actually just send it straight to All Family Pharmacy. If you don't have a prescription, you go online, you fill out a quick form, a licensed doctor reviews it, and if appropriate, they handle the prescription and it ships right to your door. This is about being prepared before you need it, not scrambling after the fact. So the people who have what they need in a crisis, of course, are the ones who simply planned ahead. So you don't wait until the shelves are empty. You can always get ahead of it now. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to search for what you and your family might need and save 10% at checkout when you use that RSBN10 promo code. All right, it is the bottom of the hour in just a few minutes. We'll go to another live interview in actually just a few minutes. The president of Courage is a Habit, Alvin Leo, will join us soon. We'll get into that in just a minute. Let's also go back to a few videos here that we're tracking as we go to, I believe it's clip number 5. Let me double check real quick on the notes. Let's do this. Okay, let's go to clip 6 with the White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt talking about a U.S.-Iranian deal and her feeling good that this hopefully will happen. Let's take a look.
I saw some reporting, again, bad reporting this morning that we had formally requested an extension of the ceasefire. That is not true at this moment. We remain very much engaged in these negotiations, in these talks. You heard from the Vice President directly and the President this week that these conversations are productive and ongoing, and that's where we are right now. I've also seen some reporting about the potentiality for in-person discussions again. Those discussions are being had, but nothing is official until you hear it from us here at the White House. But we feel good about the prospects of a deal. The president mentioned that in his interview yesterday, and it's obviously in the best interest of Iran to meet the president's demands. I think he's made his red lines in these negotiations very clear to the other side, and so we are continuing to see how these conversations go.
All right, so you saw that press conference right here on Right Side. Of course, at the top of the hour, we'll see the President of the United States in Las Vegas, Nevada for a no tax on tips roundtable. Then tomorrow, huge coverage, of course, right here on Right Side, as well as the president will go to Arizona to speak at a tvOS event. We'll have boots on the ground there, interviewing some great patriots outside of that event. Meantime, joining us now is Alvin Leo, the president of Courage is a Habit. Thanks so much for joining us. Now,
thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Can you talk to us about Courage is a Habit? What is that? And I know you're anti-woke, which is great.
Embrace exclusion.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about that. Courage is a Habit. What is that?
Well, first of all, the organization really focuses on helping parents and grandparents understand the indoctrination that's happening in government K through 12, both public and private, because there's so much gaslighting, Matthew. There's so much lying. There's so much deflections. And so there's really two things that Courage is a Habit does. The first one is that we teach parents with a very beautiful and easy to understand tools as to what's happening, how they're lying to you, and how they're trying to cover up. And then more importantly, what to do. We give them actionable things that every single parent, no matter their experience, can do literally the next day when they read our material and our toolkits. The second thing that we do is equally as important is we always say, and even on your show, we always talk about the children are being brainwashed. That's true, but it's the parents that are brainwashed first. Because if you don't brainwash the parents, you can't get to the kids. And so the second thing that we do at Courage is a Habit is to teach parents how they're being manipulated, how they're being emotionally blackmailed. There's a lot of emotional blackmail with woke. And then how to overcome that so that they can defend their children, because everybody knows how to defend their children. So what makes this time so special is because they've brainwashed parents first.
Exactly. You're talking our language here when it comes to brainwashing. We want to get all that junk out of here. We want to see truth. We want to do the right thing. Before we dive in more on that, I want to hear your story, Alvin. Tell us about how long you've been in podcasting and conservative kind of media in this way, but also what made you start Courage as a Habit. Tell us your story.
Well, I'm not ashamed to say I'm probably like a lot of Americans. I was for most of my life, I had no idea what politics was. I was one of those guys that said, I don't want to deal with politics. Politics is not for me. And so I spent time, building businesses, just minding my own business and, and my hobbies and friends. And so I was born in California. And see, when you grow up in California, it's like a fish don't know they're wet. You honestly don't know how bad California is until you start traveling. And so when I started traveling, I started to see like, wait a minute, the rest of the country's not like this. And so I knew I didn't want to raise children in California. And so I was naive enough that thought if I moved to a red state, and I live in Indiana, and that's going to change everything. I don't want to fight. I don't want to deal with it. And so for the most part, when you move from a blue state to a red state, everything's better in every way, shape, and form, except one thing: government K through 12. It is identical. A red state, a red county is identical to a blue state, a blue county. It's just in varying degrees, but the indoctrination is still there. And so one of the things I realized when I got to Indiana was the Hoosiers here said the same thing we did in California 20 years ago. It won't happen here. It's not that bad. It's fear mongering. And so one of the things I realized also that there's a lot of fear. People know this is bad. People know you should speak out against open borders and trans and kids and things of that nature, and telling white kids that they're oppressors. But the reason why people don't do it is because they made fear a habit. Every time you want to say something, you don't want to be called a bigot and a racist. And over time, you shut yourself up. And so when they come for your kids, you honestly don't know what to do because you made fear a habit. So my philosophy was that I also know that courage is also a habit, meaning that every time you want to say something and you don't want to say it, but you say it anyway, it develops that habit, that muscle. And the next thing you know, you're not afraid to say anything anymore. And so when I developed Courage as a Habit, I wanted an organization that even when my enemies say it, that it subconsciously gives a message to Americans that courage really is a habit and you don't need to wait for anyone to save you.
And courage is contagious. I remember hearing that a lot from Mike Lindell at various rallies, so we've interviewed him. So if someone simply looks up, whether it's DuckDuckGo or Google or Yahoo or whatever, and they just type in Courage as a Habit, I mean, is it just courageasahabit.com? Can you just inform viewers right now on how they can get to you, as this is something that, to your point, the corruption in the education system, boots on the ground in the counties, in the local school districts, not every teacher is woke, but we know there's a decent amount out there.
Sure. Well, thanks, Matthew. I appreciate that. It's courageisahabit.org. It's courageisahabit.org, and our catalog is made for the average parent. We never forget that our audience has school-age children. And arguably, that time is the most busiest time in your life because you have young children. Sometimes you have older parents that you're taking care of, and then you have a household, you got a mortgage, you got a job. And so it's very easy for schools to slip things by. And so the catalog that we create is really with those people in mind. We serve the average parent. And so the catalog is to help you find that confidence so that when the schools tell you, oh, we're just teaching empathy, don't you want kids to get along? You know that it's a lie. And one of the things that we talk about at Courage as a Habit is something called language contamination. Very easy to remember. Language contamination is when they use your vocabulary, but not your dictionary. So that means that when they teach you, so don't you want your child to learn empathy? Matthew, you and I and everybody listening to your wonderful show think of empathy very different than what the school counselors and teachers think about it. Because when they talk about empathy, they mean teaching your girls to have empathy for the mentally ill man that walks into her locker room, not the other way around.
Exactly. And this is really cutting to the truth right here. This is great to hear, because we know that the woke mind virus is out there, and you are someone that's on the front lines that's really helping out families and helping out kids. It's pretty awesome to see that. So what's next for you? I mean, as you do this, is this something that you're growing in popularity just to continue on with this message, or what's your goal?
Well, the goal is for every parent to understand that they have the power. They have the skills and the confidence to stand up for your children. You don't need anyone. It doesn't matter who's in office. Parents have been standing up for their children since the beginning of time. They've crossed rivers, they've crossed deserts, they've dealt with famine, they've dealt with wars. So you're telling me that you can't stand up for your kids because someone points a finger at your face and calls you a bigot and a transphobe. So what we want to do is we want to remind parents that all those labels don't mean anything. If someone says you're hateful, your answer shouldn't be, I'm not hateful because. Your answer should be, absolutely I am. I hate sex trafficking. I hate when children mutilate themselves. I hate when you tell a black child that their skin color matters to their success. So we want to teach parents to lean into that instead of trying to back away from that, because that's what the woke does. They try to put you on your heels. And what we want every American, whether you have grown children, young children, or no children, to understand that they don't attack in good faith. They're not talking to you in good faith. And so you can see back here in my office here, we have this thing, embrace exclusion. We want to remind all Americans that a good life and a healthy life, whether it's your home or a country, it's about rejecting inclusion and embracing exclusion, because all that means is drawing hard boundaries. And nothing in life, Matthew, is inclusive. Like you invited me to your wonderful show. I'm very grateful, but I can't just hop on tomorrow and be like, hi, Matthew, what's up? You'll be like, what are you doing here? We didn't invite you. Everything is about exclusion in life. And so we want to remind parents to stop to reject the gaslighting, reject inclusion, and understand that your children, excluding them from things until you deem them ready, is the most important thing about parenting.
I love it. I love what you said there. Someone says that you're hateful. You say, well, yeah, I hate this. I hate that. It's perfect. This is great. I love having people like you on, brilliant minds like yourself, but also, before I let you go, I want to talk about the late, great Charlie Kirk. I mean, he was somebody that could he could break down the barriers in the mind, couldn't he?
He was amazing. He was a once-in-a-generation talent. He built something out of nothing. The man read 100 books a year. I have no idea how he did that. But, he was such a hard worker, and he really, his source of strength was his faith. And so you have to have a foundation. He had a very strong foundation that nothing or no one can move him away from that. And so, I'm not here to tell anybody what their faith is. He was very, very good at that, and he's a much better man than I will ever be. But what I want to remind parents is that you have your foundation. And if you don't do anything else, you don't have to build a Turning Point USA, you don't have to build anything, but you are responsible for that one child or that 5 kids that you have. And you alone decide when to include things in their life and the people that include in their life. And so no one can tell you, especially a government institution, that your property taxes pay for. That is the last institution should be telling you that you need to be inclusive. One of the things we always tell parents at the end of every, speech or lesson or breakout session is, no matter how hard it is for you today, imagine how hard it would be for your child if you don't speak up. And so if you cannot stand up for your children today, they will live on their knees tomorrow.
Alvin Leo, courageisahabit.org. Is that right?
Yes, sir. And our socials are at Courage Habit.
Awesome stuff. I look forward to having you back on the broadcast, Alvin. Thanks so much for your insight, and thanks for what you're doing for this country, crushing the corruption one mind at a time, getting people detoxed from that brainwashing. Awesome stuff, man.
Thank you, Matthew.
That's awesome. That is awesome. See, I get fired up about this stuff because you have people that are on the right side of history doing some great work out there. That's awesome to see that. All right, let's go to a few of our sponsors here, as we will definitely have someone like Alvin on again. That was really encouraging. Kalshi.com/RSBN, or you can download the app or go to the QR code that you see there on your screen. A lot of people betting, trading, and also checking out polls on Kalshi.com/RSBN, all sorts of topics. I know a lot of you like politics. You wouldn't be watching Right Side if you didn't like politics, or maybe you just enjoy tuning in. But some of the political trends right now, it's when will the DHS shutdown last? How long will it last? There's other questions that you guys can check out there. From politics to faith to sports to weather to whatever, really. Kalshi.com/RSBN. Let's go to our next sponsor here, Birch Gold Group. As you know, when the dollar's convertibility into gold ended in 1971, gold was fixed at $35 an ounce. Fast forward to today, the US dollar has lost more than 85% of its purchasing power. Gold, on the other hand, has increased in value by more than 12,000%. That's why central banks are buying gold at record levels. And here at RSBN, we actually encourage you to consider diversifying your savings with physical gold from Birch Gold Group. But this really starts with education. Birch Gold just announced their Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. It's a free online event, rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. Sign up to get free silver on your next purchase. Get even larger incentives as you go. And the more you learn, the more you can earn. But you must act now, as this special event only runs through April 30th. The dollar lost its anchor in 1971. You don't have to lose yours. Text the word Trump to the number you see on your screen there, 989898, to join Birch Gold's Learn and Earn Precious Metals event by April 30th. Again, text Trump to 989898 today. It is Thursday. It's April 16th. As many of you know, it's 6:40 on the East Coast, 3:40 on the West Coast. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Let's take a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. If you missed it, we aired President Trump's press gaggle, which happened outside the South Lawn, on the South Lawn of the White House within the past couple hours. Well, President Trump about to be landing in Nevada anytime, any minute now. And we'll take you to the Silver State for the No Tax on Tips Roundtable in Las Vegas, Nevada. Then tomorrow, President Trump travels to Arizona, the Grand Canyon State. Beautiful state as well. And we'll have live coverage there, boots on the ground, and including that speech on Friday, April 17th, which is tomorrow. All right, as we are continuing to monitor some of the news that's happening out there, specifically, we just saw a story come across the wires, as they used to say, but now it's across X or Truth Social, or through our sources here at Right Side that have sources in D.C., including myself. Anyway, the point is, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is seeking criminal charges related to the 2019 impeachment probe of President Trump. Breaking 911, highlighting that from Fox right now. That happened a bit earlier in the day, but that's a story that we're tracking as well. Again, the president spoke with the press for about 25 minutes earlier. If you missed any of that, maybe after the live event that is going to happen here in Nevada, if you'd like to just replay this live stream, you can check out what the president said on there. I know you guys have your ways to get to the president as well, but thanks so much for choosing Right Side Broadcasting Network, choosing conservative media, and all of our loyal viewers over the years. Guess what? Tomorrow, Rally Day in America. It's been a while since we said it. We're looking forward to it and looking forward to being with you, we the people, what it's all about. Can't say enough about it. Let's talk about a quick history lesson in the meantime from the U.S. Navy as we get ready to celebrate America and Freedom 250. Let's go to clip number 7.
As America approaches its 250th anniversary, we look to New York with a rich history inseparable from the U.S. Navy. From the Brooklyn Navy Yard, the industrial heart of the fleet for 165 years, New York laid the groundwork for America's sea power. Today, that legacy is anchored across the state. Home to 7 museum vessels from the aircraft carrier Intrepid to the vessels of the nation's largest inland naval park, New York is the birthplace of visionaries like father of the modern Navy, President Theodore Roosevelt, and heroes like Medal of Honor recipient Lieutenant Michael P. Murphy. The Navy story is told through the 30-plus ships named for its people and places, like USS New York, whose bow was forged from the steel of the World Trade Center, honoring the heroes of 9/11. From the forge of legendary warships to a symbol of national resolve, New York's naval heritage is a cornerstone of America's story. Did any of these facts surprise you? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to check out the next video in our exploration of 13 colonies, 1 Navy.
Speaking of our 250th anniversary here in the United States of America, today we're actually getting a first look as Freedom 250 presents the Great American State Fair, which is going to be from June 25th through July 10th, and it will be America's biggest celebration of freedom. Let's look at clip 8. So you have the Freedom truck out there, the Freedom plane, going from city to city, carrying a number of the U.S. National Archive documents from our founding, some of those documents. So you can check out, if you type in Freedom plane or Freedom truck, you can see if that will be heading to a city near you or a small town near you. Because I'll tell you what, our country is made up of a ton of awesome, great, wonderful small towns. Thank God for them. All right, it is 6:46, Thursday, April 16th. This is what we could do now. As we get ready to go to Nevada this morning, 8 a.m. Eastern, quite early on the West Coast, 5 a.m., the Pentagon, the Department of War, held a press conference, kind of bringing us up to speed on Operation Epic Fury and also the Strait of Hormuz. So this is what we'll do here. We're going to toss to that, and we'll watch that for a bit. If we see any developments in Las Vegas, of course, we'll toss to that as well, or any other stories that we're monitoring here at the network, and also talking about our various great sponsors. So let's go to clip number 9, the Department of War press conference that happened at 8 Eastern Time.
Well, good morning. And as you may have noticed, the chairman and I are joined today by the CENTCOM commander, Admiral Bradley Cooper. He just returned from the front lines to see the troops and meet with allies, and this morning briefed us, just before this briefing, on the latest on all aspects of Operation Epic Fury. So after the chairman concludes, we'll ask Admiral Cooper to share a quick update on the ground truth from his trip to the region as he continues to implement an ironclad blockade and ensures that our forces are maximally postured to restart combat operations should this new Iranian regime choose poorly and not agree to a deal. And that is what we urge this morning, that this new Iranian regime choose wisely, which is where we'll start with a message to Iran's military leadership, to the KH leadership and IRGC leadership. We're watching you. Our capabilities are not the same, our military and yours. Remember, this is not a fair fight. And we know what military assets you are moving and where you are moving them to. While you are digging out, which is exactly what you're doing, digging out of bombed out and devastated facilities, we are only getting stronger. You are digging out your remaining launchers and missiles with no ability to replace them. You have no defense industry, no ability to replenish your offensive or defensive capabilities. You only have what you have. You know that, and we know that. You can move things around, but you can't actually rebuild. You can dig out for now, but you can't reconstitute. But we can. We are reloading with more power than ever before, and better intelligence, even more importantly, better intelligence than ever before, as you expose yourself with your movement to our watchful eye. We are locked and loaded on your critical dual-use infrastructure, on your remaining power generation, and on your energy industry. We'd rather not have to do it, but we're ready to go at the command of our president and at the push of a button. This blockade, which the chairman will detail this morning, is the polite way that this can go. Your energy is not moving and will not move, and we can do this all day. But it's not destroyed yet. Your energy industry is not destroyed yet. You like to say publicly, Iran, that you control the Strait of Hormuz, but you don't have a navy or real domain awareness. You can't control anything. To be clear, threatening to shoot missiles and drones at ships, commercial ships that are lawfully transiting international waters, that is not control. That's piracy. That's terrorism. The United States Navy controls the traffic going in and out of the strait because we have real assets and real capabilities. And we're doing this blockade, performing it with less than 10% of America's naval power. The math is clear. We're using 10% of the world's most powerful navy, and you have 0% of your navy. That's real control, and we have a long track record of dealing with pirates and terrorists. But there is an alternative. As our negotiators have said, you, Iran, can choose a prosperous future, a golden bridge, and we hope that you do for the people of Iran. In the meantime, and for as long as it takes, we will maintain this blockade, successful blockade. But if Iran chooses poorly, then they will have a blockade and bombs dropping on infrastructure, power, and energy. And at the same time, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and our friends over at Treasury are launching Operation Economic Fury as well, maximizing economic pressure across the entirety of the government. To Iran, choose wisely. The world watched, and so did you, as the U.S. military moved seamlessly from major combat operations to a world-class blockade. We can make that transition again, very quickly, and even more powerfully than ever. At the direction of President Trump, the War Department will ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. Never. We'd prefer to do it the nice way, through a deal led by our great vice president and negotiating team, or we can do it the hard way. We urge this new regime to choose wisely. Speaking of choosing wisely, a note to the press corps, to the American media. As I just can't help but notice the endless stream of garbage, the relentlessly negative coverage, you cannot resist peddling, despite the historic and important success of this effort and the success of our troops. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what side some of you are actually on. It's incredibly unpatriotic. This same press corps, not this exact same press corps, but at least an older press corps, bent over backwards during the Biden administration to explain away the disastrous and disgraceful Afghanistan withdrawal. You called it the greatest airlift in American history. It's almost like you're cheering only for one side. This past Sunday, I was sitting in church with my family, and our minister preached from the book of Mark, the 3rd chapter. And in the passage, Jesus entered a synagogue and healed a man with a withered hand. The Pharisees came to watch. And as the scripture reads, they came to see whether Jesus, would heal him, or he would heal him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. You see, the Pharisees, the so-called and self-appointed elites of their time, they were there to witness, to write everything down, to report. but their hearts were hardened. Even though they witnessed a literal miracle, it didn't matter. They were only there to explain away the goodness in pursuit of their agenda. As the passage ends, the Pharisees went out and immediately held counsel against him, how to destroy him. I sat there in church and I thought, our press are just like these Pharisees. Not all of you, but the legacy Trump-hating press. Your politically motivated animus for President Trump nearly completely blinds you from the brilliance of our American warriors. The Pharisees scrutinized every good act in order to find a violation, only looking for the negative. The hardened hearts of our press are calibrated only to impugn. I would ask you to open your eyes to the goodness, the historic success of our troops, the courage of this president, and this historic moment for a deal that could end the Iranian nuclear threat, the incredible battlefield victory laid before your eyes, the not one, but two incredible rescue missions, miracles, you might say, or a locked-in blockade. Or how about historic recruiting numbers? Yesterday, we announced that the Air Force and the Space Force met new higher goals in FY26, 5 months in advance of the end of the fiscal year, five months ahead of time. The Marine Corps and the Army will soon do the same. 2-3 years ago, we couldn't meet lower recruiting numbers, not even close. Where are the reports on that? Where's the coverage of the new spirit in the country, the new spirit in the ranks, the surge of Americans wanting to join the greatest military in the world? Nothing from the fake news. We sense a pattern. You see, on the battlefield, these are demonstrations of uniquely American capabilities, strength and resolve. It's all around you each and every day. But in the press, you only seek the negative, earning each and every day the fake news label. But the American people, with goodness in their hearts, see past the Pharisees in our press. They see the goodness. You watching, you see the goodness. They see the success. They see the reality. And they don't demand perfection, and perfection is not possible on any battlefield. But they see the incredible feats that our troops accomplish every single day. So to those troops, stay focused, block out the noise, stay aggressive. You are showing the world what it means to be an American warrior. You are making this building and the American people proud. We pray for you every day, and we have your back in every way. And to Iran, choose wisely. I pray you choose a deal which is within your grasp for the betterment of your people and for the betterment of the world. In the meantime, the War Department is locked and loaded. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here today. Last week, the President of the United States directed a ceasefire that temporarily paused major combat operations in Iran. The unprecedented effort by America's joint force during Operation Epic Fury set the conditions for this ceasefire. And as the Secretary said, I'd like to emphasize during this pause that the United States Joint Force remains postured and ready to resume major combat operations at literally a moment's notice. This morning, I'd like to give you an update on the ongoing blockade in the CENTCOM AOR area of responsibility. On Monday, 13 April, at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, at the direction of the President, America's joint force began implementing a blockade against Iran under the leadership of Admiral Cooper and the team at CENTCOM. Let me be clear, this blockade applies to all ships, regardless of nationality, heading into or from Iranian ports. The U.S. action is a blockade of Iran's ports and coastline, not a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Enforcement will occur inside Iran's territorial seas and in international waters. In addition to this blockade, the joint force, through operations and activities in other areas of responsibility, like the Pacific area of responsibility under the command of Admiral Paparo, will actively pursue any Iranian-flagged vessel or any vessel attempting to provide material support to Iran. This includes dark fleet vessels carrying Iranian oil. As most of you know, dark fleet vessels are those illicit or illegal ships evading international regulations, sanctions, or insurance requirements. More than 10,000 sailors, Marines, and airmen, over a dozen ships and dozens of aircraft are executing this mission. And let me walk you through this operation a little bit. Please go to the first slide. First to the graphic. This is taken before the blockade began. North is up. You can see the blockade line here in the center of the graphic, denoted by the red dashed line. This map is a pull from our common operating picture that we use to allow commanders and key leaders to see what is happening in near real time. We just grabbed screen grabs to highlight the actions and activities. What is not shown is how incredibly congested this area is and the incredible work that our sailors are doing to ensure that they can work in and around an incredibly busy water space. What is also not depicted here is the massive force of fighters, intelligence aircraft, helicopters, and other embarked forces, to include aerial refueling tankers, that are up overhead this blockade area. You'll note that U.S. forces are in blue, Iranian ships are in red, and as we started this blockade, there were 7 ships of interest that were of concern for U.S. Central Command. Through a variety of intelligence tools and with the assistance of the Office of Naval Intelligence and other intelligence agencies, the force began to hunt for potential interdictors at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next slide, please. It's now 12:40 Eastern Daylight Time, 2 hours and 40 minutes into the blockade, as attempted blockade runners attempt to hop the line. U.S. forces began to commit. Out in front of them was a range of intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and tactical assets. And immediately these runners began to see, sense, and feel America's combat power compressing upon them. The lead ship, normally a destroyer as depicted here, along with air power off of the USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group, began to move towards those ships. At each point, the United States Navy will transmit a warning. A young sailor, normally on the bridge of one of those destroyers, a junior officer, picks up that mic and transmits, and I quote, "Do not attempt to breach the blockade. Vessels will be boarded for interdiction and seizure transiting to or from Iranian ports. Turn around or prepare to be boarded. If you do not comply with this blockade, we will use force." And as this message is being transmitted, as I mentioned earlier, those shipmasters can literally see, sense, and feel the pressure around them. It's a finely tuned machine, rehearsed multiple times, and executed now 13 times since the blockade has begun. Next slide, please. We're now 24 hours plus into the blockade. You can see the turning around of multiple ships, 12 of which stayed inside the blockade line, one of which not depicted off to the eastern side, turned around before even attempting it. Any ship that would cross the blockade would result in our sailors executing pre-planned tactics designed to bring the force to that ship, if need be, board the ship and take her over. And that includes a series of escalated force options, which could include warning shots and others. Next slide. The final graphic shows taken at 11:20 p.m. the night of 14 April. You can see that the captains of all these ships have made the wise decision not to move, transit, or run this blockade. As I mentioned, so far 13 ships have made the wise choice of turning around. And as we continue to hold this blockade at the order of the Secretary and the President, any vessel that compares to comply with our instructions will be dealt with accordingly. As of this morning, U.S. Central Command has not been required to board any particular ships. And I'll remind you that we are also conducting similar maritime interdiction actions and activities in the Pacific AOR against those ships that left that area before we began the blockade. Before I turn it over to Admiral Cooper, I want to talk briefly today about the men and women enforcing the blockade, America's sailors and Marines, and today particularly our destroyer and surface forces. When we talk about an American destroyer, it's important that you and the American people understand their capabilities. An Arleigh Burke-class destroyer are the backbone of the United States Navy surface fleet. Over 500 feet long, they displace 9,000 tons, and it is the sports car of the United States Navy. From the keel to the mast, they stand nearly 10 stories tall, and their 4 gas turbine engines can drive the ship at 30-plus knots. These ships are armed to the teeth with surface-to-air missiles, land attack cruise missiles, anti-ship missiles, anti-submarine rockets, torpedoes, 5-inch naval guns, multiple electronic warfare systems, embarked helicopters, extending the reach and capability of each and every one of these destroyers. But far and away, the most important weapon on board these ships is the American sailor. Over 300 warfighters are the heart and soul of these warships. At sea, sometimes for months, and these ships out in the CENTCOM AOR have been out there for months. They operate around the clock in a constant state of readiness, always delivering for our joint force. It's hot in the engine room. The engineering team keeps the lights on and the ship powered and able to respond to the orders from the bridge. On that bridge, our sailors maintain a constant watch, maneuvering the ship tactically and safely through always congested water space. And there is a lot out there. It is like driving a sports car through a supermarket parking lot on a payday weekend with thousands of kids in that parking lot as you attempt to maneuver through there to get to that ship that would attempt to run that blockade. Down in the Combat Information Center, the CIC, the Tactical Warfare Center of the ship, that is where the decisions are made. As threats appear, these young sailors are making real-time decisions on how to identify these threats and handle them, and they always deliver. These ships are run by the youngest sailors in our surface warfare Navy. The helmsman, the sailor on the watch at the bridge, is normally just between 18 to 19 years old, and they are trusted to drive this warship through that supermarket parking lot without hitting anything. The conning officer, an equally young commissioned officer who's normally just a few years out of college, is the ones that are giving that young helmsman the orders on where to take that American warship to execute the mission that the Secretary and the President has given us. These are incredibly well-trained sailors. They are led by incredible leaders, salty, experienced leaders, and trusted with deep responsibility. And I'm so humbled and proud of America's Navy. These sailors choose to take the road less traveled to go into the historic surface Navy, and they deliver every single day. Finally, as I often do, I want to highlight one of those surface sailors today and remember our fallen. Today we remember Ensign Robert Thompson of the U.S. Laffey, who died on this day in 1945 in the Battle of Okinawa. He was killed while fighting a fire along with 31 others as 2 Japanese kamikaze aircraft hit their ship. He passed away 1 week after his 22nd birthday and was posthumously awarded the Navy Cross. We remember Ensign Thompson today and all of our World War II vets who continue to give us the gift of a great example, and those surface warfare sailors who are out there doing the job right now. Take the courage, grit, and determination that those World War II vets gave us into these actions and activities that they're tasked to do every single day. So now I'd like to turn it over to Admiral Cooper to give us a readout of his recent trip to the region.
Well, good morning, and Mr. Secretary, thank you for the kind invitation, and Chairman, great to join you. It's a real honor to be here representing the more than 50,000 American service members deployed throughout the Middle East today, supporting operations. And it's great to have the opportunity to highlight the tremendous efforts our warfighters operating forward and the important partnerships with regional allies that continue to thrive. In fact, yesterday I returned from my second trip to the Middle East in the past 15 days. 2 very different visits, one during our offensive operations against Iran, and the second in this most recent trip during the ongoing ceasefire. Very different. During both of my recent trips, I visited with our troops who were deployed across the region in more than 70 different locations, in a distance that largely spans between Florida and Arizona. I've long believed that every success that we have starts and ends with our people, and boy does this shine through brightly. During these visits, I had the privilege of personally recognizing more than 100 servicemen and women for their extraordinary valor, their courage, and their initiative under fire and delivering fire. And every time I interact with these young men and women downrange, I am deeply inspired by their courage, their resilience, and their unwavering commitment. The stories are remarkable. In many cases, you've seen this play out over TV. Fighter pilots who took out Iranian missile launchers in the moments prior to their launch against Americans and our partners, and who hit key military targets in and around Tehran on the attack more than 13,000 times. I met with some of the teams that helped to bring our F-15 airmen home safely from Iran and heard first-person accounts of the stories. Absolute heroes. I spent time with our troops who are employing cutting-edge tactics and technology for the first time in warfare. I won't be able to talk about what those are, but these young men and women are breaking new ground. It's incredibly inspiring. I met with teams who launched our own one-way attack drones into Iran. These were originally Iranian-designed drones. We brought them back to America, took the guts out, put a Made American stamp on them, and fired them right back to Iran. Very effective. I met with teams who were employing AI every single day to help us sift through vast amounts of information to help us make decisions faster. And importantly, humans are always in the loop in this process. I met with our Space Force teams and our cyber specialists, whose work cannot be discussed, but who serve with indispensable impact. I met with our logisticians and sustainers all over the region. There is just no military that executes logistics like the U.S. military. This group is doing exceptional work, moving thousands of tons every single day. I met with our air defenders who shot down Iranian ballistic missiles. My message for this group in particular is that their actions most certainly saved thousands of lives across the Middle East during Epic Fury. And all told, my personal assessment is, after these couple of trips, is our troops are highly motivated, they're focused, they're vigilant, and they're ready. And they're using this time to do a couple of things. We're rearming, we're retooling, and we're adjusting our tactics, techniques, and procedures. There's no military in the world that adjusts like we do, and that's exactly what we're doing right now during the ceasefire. A little note about partners. My discussion with regional allies and partners, both at the senior civilian level and the senior military level, reinforced our shared commitment to regional security. But beyond that, having now fought together side by side, I assess that our military partnerships are stronger than ever as we continue to maintain a very active defense posture across the region during this ceasefire. And that posture stretches across the entire Arabian Peninsula, and it runs from northern Iraq all the way down into the northern Arabian Gulf. In creating the largest air defense umbrella in the world across the Middle East, we embedded specially trained U.S. military air defenders alongside our partner nation soldiers. Side by side, literally, side by side. And to give you a sense of their contribution and impact, the King and Crown Prince of Bahrain both personally knew our soldiers by name. These leaders expressed appreciation for our service member who continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with our partners in support of regional defense. And this is a sentiment that is widely shared across every Gulf ally. I heard this message over and over again, which is, we stand with you. As the Secretary and the Chairman have said, Bahrain, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, and Jordan have been exceptional teammates. I had a chance to meet with both their senior leadership as well as their troops. Boy, equally inspiring and equally committed to mutual defense. They defended Americans and they defended their own country. It was inspiring. And there's been no better teammate than Israel. Together, the 4 best air forces in the world, the Israeli Air Force, the U.S. Air Force, and the air forces of the U.S. Navy and U.S. Marine Corps, together met and exceeded our own military objectives over and over again. Twice in the past 2 weeks, I've met with the Israeli Chief of Defense to ensure that we remain closely aligned, and we do. And then finally, let me just close by saluting the brave men and women who are in uniform and who continue to answer the call with unrivaled lethality, great teamwork, and resolve. We've asked them to stay ready during this period, and that's exactly what they're doing. I couldn't be prouder, and I know that you and the American people share in that same pride. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, we'll take a few questions. Go ahead.
Thank you. Alexandra Ingersoll, One American News. How is the Iranians' decimated command and control affecting the ceasefire at this juncture? Ergo, how are we enforcing a ceasefire with an enemy who has virtually no command and control? And then one other question about the Houthis being, have the Houthis been an issue in the Straits of Hormuz and the Bab al-Mandab Strait at the Red Sea? Are we tracking that militarily?
Appreciate that. On the ceasefire front, it's right. Their command and control capabilities are highly degraded. So their ability to talk, see, sense is at the worst it's ever been. But their motivation to want to stay in the ceasefire is very high because they understand that a violation of that ceasefire means a commencement, once again, of Admiral Cooper's forces, which went very poorly for them. So they have a high incentive to maintain that ceasefire, even though they can't talk and organize as well as they'd like to. And then as far as the Houthis, thus far, they have stayed out of it, which, of course, we think is a good decision by them, and I think is a reflection of the fact that over a year ago in Operation Rough Rider, we had an ongoing and intense campaign that demonstrated American capabilities, which has them hesitating to want to do something on that strait, which I think would be a poor choice. Right here.
Good morning, Mr. Secretary, gentlemen. David Zier, Real America's Voice. As commercial shipping ramps up, you know, there was 130 ships a day going through that. As that happens, ships have to anchor up, right, and wait to pass through the narrow strait. Is there any progress with an international force to phase out U.S. military-led escorts or other? Is anyone stepping up to do that?
It's a great question.
Long term.
They should be. There's a lot of talk, and what we've seen in this conflict from allies, and those is a lot of talk, except for the ones that were mentioned by Admiral Cooper in the region who've been phenomenal. Other allies have talked a lot and haven't done anything. And as the president has pointed out, this is a waterway that the American commerce doesn't use all that much. We don't rely on the energy coming out of the Strait of Hormuz, but Asia does, and Europe does, and large parts of the rest of the world do. And so their ability to muster a collective defense or a clearing of the straits would be a wonderful thing. And we hear and see the talk about it, but when shots were fired and those countries were needed the most, they weren't there. They weren't in the strait. They weren't alongside us. Their leaders weren't rallying what they have of their navies. If they decide after CENTCOM does the heavy lifting, which again, they should be able to do. We should live in a world where other countries can defend waterways, not just the United States Navy. Should that conclude, which we believe it will, then we would welcome other countries coming in after the fact. But you can't live in a world in perpetuity, and this is a message to the rest of the world and our allies, where you just rely on America to continually do the heavy lifting. Oh, Iran might get a nuclear bomb. Who's going to do something about it? America. And America only. Other allies need to invest in their capabilities so they can project power and do basic tasks like clearing a strait. So we're not counting on it, but it would be wonderful to see it if it ever materialized. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you all for your time. I have a couple questions. I know you said a few weeks ago that Iran's supreme leader was wounded and disfigured. Do you have an update on whether he's even alive at this point? And then another question for you. Iranian embassy accounts are sharing an AI video of Jesus Christ kind of bloodily killing President Donald Trump. Does the Pentagon have a response to this, including the fact that this AI Jesus is casting Trump into hell? And then finally, for Admiral Cooper, could you speak to us about the morale of the American service members that you're seeing in the Middle East? I think Americans are really interested in what their experiences and testimonies are like.
As far as the status of the individual you mentioned, I believe it's the same. Not a lot coming from him right now, understandably so, a lot of fear. Believed to be alive, wounded, and disfigured. Status remains the same. As far as a video like that, of course, that's disgusting and detached from reality. Iran says a lot of things in the propaganda space based on complete lies, and their actions have been lies. Oh, we don't target, we see missiles going into civilian facilities and hotels in the Gulf states. And they say we only target military targets as you watch drones and missiles go into. So they are going to misrepresent, lie, spin in a multitude of ways, which we are quite used to. Ultimately, they need to come to the table and make a deal. And I'll hand it over to Admiral Cooper for this.
Yeah, I would just reiterate my previous comment. Morale is very high. And anyone in the military can take about 2 seconds to figure out what morale looks like by meeting around it with the people. And it is crystal clear. These are motivated young men and women. I had the wonderful privilege of writing a letter early on in the operation to the team forward. And I told them this was going to be a mission of extreme consequence. And serving at a time where you are making a difference, consequential, as the Secretary and the Chairman have described over and over again, is incredibly and deeply meaningful. And I think that's the key part of the drive, as well as being great teammates across the board. It's a privilege to watch.
Jerry.
Thank you. Jerry Dunleavy with Just the News. I have a couple of questions. First is some critics of the Trump administration policy, including former NCTC Director Joe Kent, have attempted to claim that the Trump administration's policy of zero enrichment for the Iranians is not actually President Trump's policy, but was foisted upon him by the Israelis. Looking back, doing a bit of a refresher for myself, I saw that zero enrichment was the Trump State Department's policy in the first admin.
Just stop for a second. As someone who, unlike the individual you referenced, is in the presence of the president nearly every day and has been inside every single key meeting that has happened surrounding the idea of Operation Epic Fury, not a single thing has been foisted upon the President of the United States. President Trump makes his own decisions about the interests of this country and defending our interests, and then working with allies and partners, in this case, Israel, who's got a lot of will and a lot of capabilities, which we're grateful for. Nothing gets foisted on President Trump. So those people who are not in those meetings who like to say things about that are just flat wrong.
I had a quick one for Admiral Cooper, if that's
Sure.
okay. Thank you, sir, and thank you for being here. So during Operation Epic Fury, 13 U.S. service members have lost their lives, some of them in an apparent aircraft refueling accident, and some of them from Iranian strikes, including a drone strike. I was wondering if you could share a little bit with us about how those Iranian strikes were able to be successful, and what lessons you've learned, and how you're applying those lessons in the future to make sure that we're able to defend a little bit better against that sort of thing.
Sure, really broad question. But first, we will always honor the fallen. And the 13 who lost their lives really helped steel the resolve and congeal the motivation of the forces that are I met many people who knew the fallen personally. I met many who were reported as wounded and are back. 90% of those who have been wounded have been back to duty. It gives you a sense of purpose and motivation. We have collected dozens, if not hundreds, of lessons learned. And as we sit here right now, the Joint Force across the board is taking them and very tactically applying them right now, right here, right now. If I think about a football analogy, if it's halftime or between the third and fourth quarter, great teams are always adjusting, and we are certainly a great team, and that's what we're doing right now, taking the lessons and applying them in a meaningful way. What those are, I'm not going to talk about.
I'll say they extend also outside of CENTCOM and across the rest of the Joint Force. We are a learning organization, so adversaries around the world should recognize that and be aware of that.
No doubt. And likewise, I mean, the chairman and I have had the opportunity to greet those 13 and their families at Dover, and it does steel our resolve. And I can just attest to the planning that went into every aspect of this, and force protection, ensuring that CENTCOM has whatever it needs and that they're taking the proper posture has always been number one in this effort. Last question.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. There's reporting that says U.S. intelligence indicates China is preparing weapons shipments to Iran during this ceasefire. What's your reaction? Are these reports accurate, and what would be the consequences for the Chinese if they move forward with these shipments?
Well, as you know, President Trump has a very strong and direct relationship with President Xi. And they've communicated on that, and China has assured us that that indeed is not going to happen. And in the spirit of the meeting they'll have next month. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, good evening once again, and welcome back into RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We are standing by for the President's No Tax on Tips Roundtable in Las Vegas, Nevada. This as we're less than 24 hours away from Rally Day in America, as the Commander-in-Chief will travel to Arizona tomorrow to deliver a speech at a TPUSA event. Our live coverage will start several hours before the event. We'll be starting at this point at 12 Eastern as we hear from you, the American people, outside the event prior to President Trump's speech. Meantime, this live stream broadcast brought to you by All Family Pharmacy, specifically with everything that's going on right now in the world. Supply chain issues, global instability, shortages that not many are talking about. Your access to medication is something that should be top of mind because most people don't think about it until they need something and can't get it. And by then, it's just too late. We've been recommending All Family Pharmacy for a while now, and this is exactly why. They are an independent American pharmacy that helps you stay stocked and prepared. They carry hard-to-find medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue. How about NAD+, along with more than 400 everyday prescriptions for blood pressure, thyroid, diabetes, and more. And they make this process simple. Already have a prescription? Well, your doctor can send it straight to All Family Pharmacy. If you don't have a prescription, you can go online, fill out a quick form. A licensed doctor will review it. If appropriate, they handle that prescription for you, then they ship it right to your door. This is really about being prepared before you need it, not scrambling after the fact. And of course, the people who have what they need in a crisis are the ones who simply planned ahead. Don't wait until the shelves are empty. You can get ahead of it all now. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to search for what you and your family might need and save 10% at checkout when you use that RSBN10 promo code. Let's also go to Birch Gold Group. When the dollar's convertibility to gold ended in 1971, gold was fixed at $35 an ounce. If you fast forward to today, the U.S. dollar has lost more than 85% of its purchasing power. So gold, on the other hand, has increased value by more than 12,000%. That's why central banks and others out there, they're buying gold at record levels. And here at RSBN, we encourage you to consider diversifying your savings with physical gold from Birch Gold Group, but it really starts with education. So Birch Gold just announced their Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. It's a free online event that rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. So you can sign up to get free silver on your purchase. And also you can get even larger incentives as you go. The more you learn, the more you can earn. Once again, sign up to get free silver on your next purchase. But you must act now as this special event runs through April 30th. The dollar lost its anchor in 1971. You don't have to lose yours. Just text the word Trump to the number 989898. So you'll get a free info kit, but also you'll be joining Birch Gold's Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. This is all by April 30th. Again, text Trump to 989898. Great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We are standing by to send you out to the Silver State. Those of you watching in Nevada, hello to you. Thanks so much for watching. We're going to see the president with the No Tax on Tips Roundtable. And then again, tomorrow, we'll be seeing the president in Arizona. RSBN host Robert McNeely and our crew already on the way to Arizona, probably flying over western Texas at this point, just a wild guess. But anyway, looking forward to seeing that coverage. I'll be live right here in the studio tomorrow. Also, new into RSBN. Video of President Trump stepping off of Air Force One in Nevada. So let's take a look at that video, if it's ready, right now. All right, so before President Trump did that, he did this. In case you missed it, the president spoke with reporters on the South Lawn of the White House a few hours ago. This is the latest that you're hearing from President Trump on camera, at least. A number of Truth Social posts, which we've gone over earlier in the broadcast, are being posted as well. So a little bit of a twofer. If you see us on the bigger screen, maybe in the living room or wherever you're watching right now, you could watch and listen to what President Trump had to say. But also, you can go on your phone, check out Truth Social, and see what President Trump was posting as well. Two pretty cool ways to track the latest from the Commander-in-Chief. This, as of course, we cover a lot of news outside of D.C., inside D.C., all for God, family, and country. So let's go to President Trump, in case you missed it from a bit earlier. Also, as soon as we see that live feed in Las Vegas, we'll take you there.
You had a conversation on the Pope. Mr. President, on the Pope. The Pope criticized people who, quote, manipulate religion for political or military gain. Do you think that he was talking about you, sir?
It's very important that the Pope understands. Very, very important. It'd be nice not to say it. Iran killed 42,000 people that were totally unarmed. They were protesters. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they did, every country, including Italy, where he's stationed, every single country in the world would be in trouble. So we're doing very well with respect to that, having to do with the whole situation on Iran. The blockade is amazing. It's holding up very strong, very powerfully. And I think we're making a lot of progress in that. But the Pope has to understand Iran, very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. The world would be in great danger.
Mr. President, would you meet with the Pope to even out your differences? Because Catholics are torn.
I don't think it's necessary.
Mr. President, you spoke with Prime Minister Modi just a couple of days ago. What was the conversation like? What is it that is on the table now?
I had a very good talk with him, and he's a friend of mine from India. And he's doing great. We had a very good conversation.
Are you considering extending the ceasefire with Iran?
With who?
With Iran.
We're doing very well, I can tell you. Maybe it'll happen before that. I'm not sure it needs to be extended. Just so you know, Iran wants to make a deal, and we're dealing very nicely with them. We've got to have no nuclear weapons. If we do, that's a big factor. And they're willing to do things today that they weren't willing to do 2 months ago.
Do you have any news about Ukraine? Do you have any news regarding peace in Ukraine?
Will Hezbollah stick to the ceasefire? Are you confident about that?
I think they will. I think it's going to be, actually it's very exciting because it's 48 years. We're going to be meeting with Bibi Netanyahu, as you know, and the president of Lebanon. And I had a great talk with both of them today. They're going to be having a ceasefire. And that'll include Hezbollah, and I think it could be number 10 for me.
Mr. President, do you have any news regarding peace in Ukraine? Do you have any news regarding peace in Ukraine?
Ukraine is moving along. I wish they could get along. Frankly, a lot of people are dying in Ukraine. We'll see what happens. There's things happening there. We're focused so much right now in Iran, seeing if we can get that completed. And I think we're going to be important. And I think if you look, the stock market is good. The oil prices are coming down. And it's looking very good that we're going to make a deal with Iran. And it's going to be a good deal. It's going to be a deal with no nuclear weapons.
When is the next in-person round of negotiations on the war in Iran?
They're all important. I mean, it's not a question of around. All of them are important.
When will the next in-person
Probably, maybe over the weekend.
Will you send the Vice President?
Maybe over the
Will you send the Vice
Just so you
President?
understand, the blockade has been incredible. It's held. They're not doing any business. They're unable to do any business because of the blockade. And so the combination of having no Navy, having no Air Force, having no anti-aircraft equipment. They have nothing. Everything is gone, including their leaders. Now they have a new set of leaders, and we find them very reasonable.
And you want a 20-year minimum to stop enriching uranium? Would you
Well, we haven't agreed to any. We haven't agreed to any. What we have is we have a statement, very powerful statement, that they will not have beyond 20 years. That they will not have nuclear weapons. That's beyond. There's no 20-year limit.
Any updates on Greenland, Mr. President?
I think that Todd Blanche is doing a very good job, from what I'm saying. I mean, all I can say thus far, I think Todd Blanche is doing a very good job.
If there's no deal, would you be willing to extend the ceasefire, or will the fighting resume, Mr. President?
I would say the fighting. If there's no deal, fighting resume.
Okay. And then on gas prices, how much longer will Americans continue to see these high gas prices?
Well, they're not very high. If you look at what they were supposed to be in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon, with the danger that entails. So the gas prices have come down very much over the last 3-4 days. I know, that's what ABC says. But the fact is that if you look at the stock market's up, everything's doing really well. And the big thing we have to do is we have to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, because if they do, you want to talk about problems, you'd have problems. So very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully. They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bombers. So we have a lot of agreement with Iran, and I think something's going to happen very positive. Very complicated subject. I don't think we're waiting. I think we're moving very fast. It could happen pretty quickly.
How long you could sustain the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz?
The what?
How long you could keep the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz?
We're doing very well with the blockade. It's very routine for us. The Navy is incredible. And I think the blockade is doing very well. It's no ship is even thinking about entering. No ship is going past our Navy.
Why are you fighting with the Pope? And are you worried it's upsetting your
No, I don't. I have to do what's right. The Pope has to understand that. Very simple. I have nothing against the Pope. His brother's MAGA all the way. I like his brother, Louis. I'm not fighting with him. The Pope made a statement. He says Iran can have a nuclear weapon. I say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the Pope looked at the 42,000 people that were killed over the last 2 or 3 months as a protester with no weapons, no nothing, I mean, you take a look at that. So I can disagree with the Pope. I have a right to disagree. I have a right to disagree with the Pope.
What do you say to people who see that, who see your criticism?
You can't have, look, nothing, I have no disagreement with the fact the Pope can say what he wants, and I want him to say what he wants, but I can disagree. I think that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they do, the whole world would be at jeopardy. The Middle East will be blown up and the whole world will be at jeopardy. We're very close to making a deal. That'll be a great thing. The Pope has to understand, Iran has killed more than 42,000 people over the last few months. Think of it, protesters without guns, without anything. They were totally unarmed protesters. The Pope has to understand that. This is the real world. It's a nasty world. But as far as the Pope and saying what he wants, he can do that. Now, I know the Pope's brother. He is a big MAGA person. He's got MAGA all over his house. His name is Louis. He's actually a great guy. And I'm sure the Pope is a great guy. I haven't met him. But I disagree with the Pope. If the Pope would allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, you can't do that. No, not really. What?
I would like to ask you regarding congratulations for the 10th.
Yeah, it's very exciting. With Lebanon, it's very exciting. I think we're going to have a deal. We're going to have a meeting, first time in 44 years. And Lebanon will be meeting with Israel, and they're probably going to do it at the White House.
When do you think, President, when do you think they will?
Over the next week or two.
Or the next week, and do you think this agreement can reach?
I do. I think they're going to. I think we will have an agreement between Lebanon, and they're going to take care of Hezbollah. But they're going to be working on Hezbollah right now. But we'll have an agreement between Israel, very importantly, and Lebanon.
Will you support our Lebanese army as well?
I would, yeah.
Iran's going to
Has Hezbollah agreed to the ceasefire? I mean, how do you even?
They're all agreeing. It's a very nice little package for about a week, and we're not going to have lots of bombs dropping, and we're going to see if we can make peace between Lebanon and Israel.
And this is around the Pope, Mr. President, because there was a group of bishops that did put out a statement saying the Pope isn't merely exercising his opinion, he's preaching the gospel. I mean, what do you say to people that view this
Well,
as
I
an
want him
attack
to
on
preach the
Catholic Church?
gospel. I'm all about the gospel, but I also know that you cannot let a certain country, which is a very mean-spirited country, have a nuclear weapon. If they did, they would use it, and I think they'd use it quickly, and they would kill many millions of people. So, you know, the Pope can disagree with me on that, but certainly we're allowed to have that. I'm all about the gospel. I'm about it as much as anybody can be, but I can't allow, as President of the United States of America, I can't allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And here's the story. They won't have. They've already agreed not to have. That's good news, and I think the Pope will be very happy.
The Federal Reserve should wait and see about this Iran war before lowering interest rates. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree. I think we should have lower interest rates.
Iran's going to execute 4 more protesters, reportedly, including the first woman protester. What do you tell Iran?
Well, tell that to the Pope.
President Trump
What do you say? Tell that to the Pope.
You want to patch things up with the Pope?
That Iran is going to...
Lebanese people love
Did you just hear that? Iran is going to execute 4 people, including a woman?
Trump, the Lebanese love you so much. When you visit Lebanon...
Do you extend the ceasefire? What makes you to extend that?
I don't know if we're going to have to, but if we need to, I would do that.
Wait, that's important. Sorry.
Airlines, what are you telling the airlines and the oil companies about the way you're going to open up the Strait of Hormuz?
If you look at the oil, and if you look at the price we're paying, it's about half what people thought it would be if you did what I had to do. We had to take this journey to the Middle East in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon. There would have been, if we didn't hit it with the B-2 bombers, or if I didn't kill the Barack Hussein-Obama deal, the nuclear deal, which was a disaster, we would have had nuclear weapons exploding in the Middle East and beyond. I believe I've been able to stop that. I think we have a very successful negotiation going on right now, and I think it'll be, if it happens, it'll be announced fairly soon, and that'll give us free oil, free Hormuz Strait, everything will be nice, and I think your oil price will go down to lower than what it was before, and I think a lot of good things will happen.
Just for clarity, you're willing to extend the ceasefire if there is
Well,
no
we'll see.
deal?
I don't know that we'll have to. Ideally, we'll, but if I needed to, I would.
The Lebanese people love you so much. What do you say? The Lebanese people love you so much. What's your message for them? And you will visit Lebanon after
Yeah,
this
I will do that. At the right time, I would certainly go there.
You know, Putin doesn't want to stop it apparently. He keeps bombing Ukraine. You think this war has the potential to go on for years more?
Well, it should have been. It should have never started. If I were president, the war in Ukraine never would have started with Russia. But it's going on. Hopefully, it'll get over soon.
The First Lady came out last week and said she had no link to Jeffrey Epstein.
Who did?
The First Lady, Melania
She
Trump.
had none.
Why did she come out and say that last week?
Because the fake news was saying she did, and she had none, and I think that's been proven. It bothered her that the fake news was being fake news, so she just wanted to clarify.
Were you surprised?
Who's taking care of Hezbollah? Do you think that they are destroying the deal that you are trying to make?
We're going to see how it all works out, but they'll be working and coordinating. If you know Lebanon, right? So they'll be working with Hezbollah.
If you fire Jay Powell,
interested in acquiring Iranian oil?
What?
Are you still interested in acquiring Iranian oil after the?
Well, we'll see. I mean, we have a very good relationship with Iran right now, as hard as it is to believe. And I think it's a combination of about 4 weeks of bombing and a very powerful blockade. The blockade is maybe more powerful than the bombing, if you want to know the truth.
Are you going to make the Arab countries pay a portion of all of the costs?
I think they'll make that. I think they're going to make that contribution. I think the Arab countries, because we've done a lot, I think they'd make a contribution toward the cost. Yeah. Not been involved.
The deal of Lebanon is different than Iran. Iranian assets without any condition. If you make a deal,
we're going to see what happens, but I think we're very close to making a deal with Iran. You'll be the first to know, but I think we have a chance, and If that happens, oil goes way down, prices go way down, inflation goes way down, and you're going to have, much more importantly than even that, you won't have nuclear holocaust. Thank you.
It's happening now. Mr. President.
Well, possibly, but I think a deal could be reached. Possibly. I would be foolish not to. I mean, if we're close to a deal, would I extend? Yeah, I would do that. But we're close to a deal. We're getting along very well with the new Iranian leaders. It really is, it's regime change. These are people that are a lot different than we were dealing with at the beginning. As you know, they're no longer around. They're no longer with us. But we have a very good relationship, and I think there's a very good chance that we're going to make a deal. Also, Israel and Lebanon, I think there's a good chance that they'll make a good deal. So,
When are they coming here? In reaction to Russia's overnight attack on Kiev, they killed many more Ukrainians.
I think it's terrible.
Mr. President, are you going to send any cabinet member to China before your visit?
Well, I have a great relationship, as you know, with President Xi, and I look forward to being there. We have a very special relationship, so I look forward to being in China.
How's the preparation going? Mr. President, thank you. Mr. President, you impose sanctions on Rwanda because they keep violating the Washington Accord.
Yeah, I do.
But President Kagame just said he don't care about sanctions, and he said he will not withdraw from Congo. His troops will continue in Congo. What is your reaction to
We're
that?
going to look into it very strongly, but they do have very big sanctions.
Mr. President, there was a G20 meeting in Washington today. Why did you invite Poland instead of South Africa?
Well, Poland's a great country. We like it a lot. We're friends with Poland. The president is doing a great job, so we invited him.
President, would you agree to covering the
President, I saw your Truth Social post about Bruce Blakeman in New York. He's being denied up to $7 million of public campaign funds in New York by partisan Democrats. Have you seen that, and what's your reaction to it?
I can just tell you this. Bruce Blakeman is running for governor. He will be a great governor if he wins. I don't know that he wins or not because it's New York. And, you know, people cheat on elections and a lot of other things. But Bruce Blakeman is a great, great gentleman. As you know, he comes from Nassau County, which is a Democrat area, and he wins by a landslide all the time. And if Bruce Blakeman gets in, your taxes are going to go way down, and a lot of good things are going to happen, including cleanliness and all of the things that you want to see. I know him very well. He's been a great leader, a great executive in Nassau County. Even though it's largely Democrat, he wins in a landslide. Everybody loves him. He's a very talented guy, very great politician, and I think he probably has a chance. If Bruce Blakeman gets in, your taxes are going way down, and you know what else is going down? Crime.
President Trump, there are these 10 missing scientists with access to classified stuff, nuclear material, aerospace. They've all gone missing or turned up dead in the last couple months. Based on what you've been briefed, what do you think is happening here, and do you think that this is connected or totally random?
Well, I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half. I just left a meeting on that subject, so pretty serious stuff. But we're going to be hopefully, I don't know, coincidence, if you whatever you want to call it. But some of them were very important people, and we're going to look at it over the next short period.
Is it possible that some foreign adversary is in the United States scooping these people up?
Well, you know, Biden had open borders. It wasn't very hard to get here, but we've gotten many of them out. You know, we've caught many, many people, many very bad people, including thousands of murderers that we've taken out of our country, thousands of drug lords that we've taken out of our country, hundreds of thousands of prisoners that were let into the U.S. that we've taken out of our country. As far as the scientists are concerned, we'll probably have a pretty good answer over the next week.
And with the peace talks in Iran, does it have to be a big deal all at once, or would you accept a little deal to start?
Well, I have a little deal. I can make a little deal. I want to get it done and get back to keep going with low. You know, our pricing is doing great. As soon as the war is over, we're going to be lower than we were 2 or 3 years ago. So I want to get back to that. We had to do something. We had to make sure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. And we're at that. They've agreed to that. They've totally agreed to that. They've agreed to almost everything. So maybe if they can get to the table, there's a difference. They agree. They're going to get to the table with a pen. We'll have that over with. And then we can focus on our great economy and Also, you know, I inherited the highest prices in the history of our country, the worst inflation in the history of our country. I'll get it down to a very low number. We had it to a very low number, and it's still low. But the most important thing right now is to make sure Iran can never have a nuclear weapon.
Mr. President,
Would you ever go to Pakistan to seal the deal yourself?
I would go to Pakistan, yeah. Pakistan has been great. They've been so good. Islamabad, I might go. Yeah. If the deal is signed in Islamabad, I might go. The field marshal has been great. The prime minister has been really great in Pakistan. So I might go. They want me to
Mr.
go.
President, the First Lady last week called on Congress to further look into and uncover the truth on the Epstein files, the Epstein saga.
Yeah.
Do you believe that there should be a public hearing for more of these Epstein survivors?
Well, I'm okay with it. I think we've had a lot of public hearings. I'm okay with it. But I understand that the women didn't want to go under oath. That's what I heard. That the women, the victims or whatever, they refused to go under oath, which was a little surprising. Now, Melania felt strongly about it because she was accused of that I met her through Epstein, but it turned out to be totally false. It was a falsehood.
Mr. President,
Don't these ceasefire also include Iraq and region?
Are we talking about the one with Lebanon?
Lebanon, Iraq,
Yeah,
and
well, the whole thing. So we just made a deal with Lebanon. As of 2 hours from now, we have a ceasefire with Israel and Lebanon, and that'll be great. And they'll be meeting, probably coming to the White House over the next 4 or 5 days.
Have the Epstein survivors...
And that'll be the first time they've met in 44 years, which is pretty unneighborly when considering they're neighbors. But there's a really good chance that that'll work out with Lebanon and Israel. I met with, through the telephone, with the president of Lebanon, who's a really good guy, highly respected, and with Bibi. And I think there's a chance we'll be meeting right here in the not too distant.
Have the Epstein survivors received justice? Do you think the Epstein survivors have received justice?
Israel and Lebanon have tried to make peace before. What's going to be the difference this time?
Me. I'm the difference. Big difference. Me.
Australia has announced, Mr. President, about taxes. States like Virginia, North Carolina, and New York, Democratic states, are looking at raising taxes. Is that going to take away from the tax cuts?
What's happened? No, because, you know, no tax on tips. I'm going over no tax on tips today. That's why I'm going to Nevada. I'm going to Arizona. But this is sort of a no tax on tips. What's happening is people are finding out that in their tax returns, they're getting a big refund, much bigger than they thought. So it's no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. I think it's, wait. I think it's going to be amazing. But if you look at what they're doing in New York, in California, they're raising taxes and they're driving people out. It's a shame.
Australia has just announced that it's increasing its defence spending to 3%. You've been asking for 3.5%. Are you satisfied?
No, we're going to see what happens. But on defense spending, look, we built the greatest military anywhere in the world. There's nobody even close. All you have to do is take a look at the blockade. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. That blockade is the best thing. And I'll tell you something. I think the blockade has been more powerful than the bombs. The bombs were powerful, and it weakened them. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. They have no anything. They have no leaders. But their new leaders, the ones that have replaced them, it's a regime change. They are much more, I think, frankly, more intelligent and more moderate. But we have a real chance to make a deal very soon with Iran.
But just on Australia, they've increased defence spending.
On Australia, Mr. President, you asked for 3.5% increase, like 5% you did with NATO. Australia has only gone to 3%. Are you satisfied with that decision? Would you consider
I'm not happy
reviewing
with
defence
Australia because
Why
they were not
specifically?
Because they were not there when we asked them to be there. So Australia.
What did you ask for?
Australia was another one. They were not there, having to do with Hormuz, the Hormuz.
What do you mean by that?
Still friendly with Albanese?
I'm not happy. I'm not happy.
But why specifically? Do you still have a good relationship with the Australian Prime Minister?
What message do you think the ceasefire in Lebanon sends to the UK and other European allies who chose not to get involved in the war?
Well, you know, we spend trillions and trillions of dollars on NATO. And when I asked them to get involved on a much smaller situation, which is Hormuz and Iran, they weren't there for us. Remember what I said. They weren't there. None of them. They weren't there. So we were there on Ukraine. I mean, we shouldn't have been. It would have never happened if I were president. But nevertheless, when they've had problems over the years, we were there. When we asked them to get involved on a very minor skirmish by comparison to what it could be, they weren't there. So I don't think they'd be there for a large skirmish, and therefore I think they've got themselves a problem.
Do your policies like no tax on tips, no tax on overtime show that the Democrat Party is no longer the party of the working class and the Republican Party under your leadership actually
I love this question. This is the greatest guy. Look how handsome he is. What a great guy he is. Yes, the Democrats don't know what they're doing. They want to tax everybody out of business. They want men playing in women's sports. They don't want voter ID. They don't know what they're doing. We've had an unbelievable run, and the people getting their tax returns, and they're coming back, and they're ending up getting $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 more than they thought possible.
Mr. President, do you think the Pope was being do you think the Pope was being disrespectful to you, sir?
The who?
The Pope. Do you think he was being disrespectful to you?
I don't think about it that way. The Pope has to understand that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And the Pope has to understand that you can't let a country kill 42,000 protesters, totally unarmed protesters. You can't do that. So the Pope, you know, I know his brother. His brother's MAGA all the way. You know that. Louis is a great guy. But the Pope has to understand you're not allowed to kill 42,000 protesters who are totally unarmed. And you cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon, or the entire world could be gone. And, you know, when the Pope realizes that, I think we'll have a different understanding.
Mr. President, does energy dominance mean that Europeans should be buying more gas and oil from the United States?
Well, they should be buying more from us, and what they should be doing is using the North Sea. I can tell you, UK, I've been telling that to your Prime Minister, UK should open up the North Sea. It's one of the greatest in the world, and they should use it instead of buying oil from Norway and other places that use the same source. They should use it, and they're not doing it. They're doing windmills, and windmills do one thing. You know what they do? Put you out of business.
Mr. President, did you recently talk to Mr. Erdogan or the regional leaders about the peace deal or the peace talks about
We're dealing with everybody. We're dealing with all of the leaders on many different subjects. We're very close to a deal with Iran. Thank you.
All right, so President Trump, of course, speaking with the press for about 25 minutes. That was about 3 or 4 hours ago. Of course, President Trump now in Nevada as we saw him land about an hour ago. So we're going to see the president here as we're standing by for this No Tax on Tips roundtable in Las Vegas, Nevada. And of course, tomorrow, big day here at Right Side, as well as President Trump will be in Arizona. We'll have live coverage starting well early into the day tomorrow for that rally in Arizona. Of course, we're going to be hearing from We the People as well outside of that venue. So we're looking forward to all of that. In the meantime, as we stand by for the live picture in Las Vegas, let's go to President Trump's Truth Social posts. There's a few of them out there. Let's go to one of them at least. You see one that he posted, I believe he was on the plane at this point, across the country. He said, sadly, Mayor Mamdani is destroying New York. It has no chance. The United States of America should not contribute to its failure. It will only get worse. The tax policies are so wrong. People are fleeing. They must change their ways and fast. History has proven this stuff just doesn't work. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. So the president talking, of course, about the New York City mayor there and a number of other posts that you may want to check out. And we went over a number of them earlier. We've been live since 5 o'clock Eastern time. It is now pushing 8 o'clock on the East Coast. That's 5 o'clock out there on the West Coast. So looking forward to going to the Silver State in Nevada right now, as the president will be there for that roundtable discussion all about no tax on tips. So what we're looking at here any second from now is a roundtable that may last for 30 minutes, 45, an hour. Who knows? We'll see. We know that the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is on hand there in Vegas as well. He was at the press conference just yesterday with Carolyn Levitt and the SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler as well. So a lot going on, whether here in this country or around the world. Thanks so much for being with Right Side Broadcasting Network, choosing us and choosing conservative media over, I was just going to say the hacks on mainstream media, but hey, why not? All right, anyway, so if you'd like to follow us on Truth Social, it's at RSBN. On X, it's at RSB Network. If you'd like to follow me on X, it's at Matthew US Media. And on Truth Social, it's at Matthew Alvarez. Thank God for Truth Social. What a great community of people on Truth. And then thank God for Elon, because you're able to speak freely on X. And we're hoping to keep the freedom going here in this country. We could start with passing the Save America Act. That would help. So truth, transparency, accountability, all the things. Keeping the United States Constitution as the law of the land. And that really is the goal for we the people, the mass majority of this country, who's on the right side of history, who doesn't want woke. You don't want to go broke, do you? Right? Woke. If you go woke, you go broke, right? So a lot happening this week, as today, of course, is Thursday, April 16th. We're about to go to Nevada, and then we'll be also going again to the Grand Canyon State in Arizona tomorrow. Coming up also in May, I believe May 14th and 15th, President Trump and the First Lady Melania Trump will be flying all the way to China to meet with President Xi Jinping and his leadership team there in China. So we will be tracking that story along with many others, including June 14th on the South Lawn of the White House for that UFC fight. How about July 4th for the 250th birthday for our United States of America? Let's go to Las Vegas right now.
Donald J. Trump.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Wow. Thank you, Lee. Nice, easy. Isn't he great? That's such a great opening. Well, we love you too. We got a lot of people here. We got a lot of great people here. Thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to win this state by so much. It was, I wouldn't say the competition was the toughest, but it was competition nevertheless, and we appreciate it very much. And we're going to be talking about no tax on tips. We're also talking about the fact that everybody is looking at their tax return. They're getting tremendous amounts of money back, much more than they thought. So, but it's great to be back in a place I love, Las Vegas. Did a lot of business here. We had great success here. Before politics, it was fantastic. And This is the birthplace of a little idea known as no tax on tips. This is the birthplace. A young waitress came up to me during dinner and she said, "Sir, we should have no tax on tips." I said, "What?" Say it again. "We should have no tax on tips." I said, "That's the greatest thing I've ever heard." I walked outside to the fake news media. I say, "Ladies and gentlemen, there will be no tax on tips." That was it. It was not an expensive consultant. Las Vegas is the home of the largest concentration of tipped workers anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, actually. And thanks to our tax cuts this week, thousands of Nevada waiters, waitresses, casino dealers, bartenders, bellmen, barbers, caddies. So I love those caddies. They're very good if you have the right caddy. And valets receive the biggest tax refunds of their entire lives, and you see it. And I just want to say, you're welcome. You're welcome. No, it's all over. There's so many, even in the fake news, where they have these different. You always want to watch the enemy a little bit. You don't want to watch too much. You want to find out where they're coming from, and they come from dark places. But even there, people are saying, "Wow, this is really amazing." It's a great, big, beautiful bill that came in, and we should call it the Great Big Beautiful Tax Cut Bill, because that's really what it is. Other things also, but regulations. But it's really, the tax cuts are enormous. So. It's just such an honor. I want to thank Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent for joining us. Scott, he's become a big star. He walks down the street and the people are screaming, "Scott, Scott, can we have your autograph?" I mean, what I did, I created a monster. He's a monster now. That's terrible, but he's doing a great job. Along with Senator, look at Tommy. Where's Tommy Tuberville? Where's Tommy Tuberville? Tommy, the great Tommy Tuberville, Senator from Alabama. Thank you, Tommy. Nevada Lieutenant Governor Stavros Anthony. Thank you, Stavros. Clark County Commissioner April Becker. April. Thank you, April. Thank you very much. State Senator Carrie Buck. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Assemblywoman Lisa Cole. Lisa, thank you. We have a lot of power here today, huh? This is big stuff. And many others. We have a lot of people out there. I better not name them all because, we're in all these. Look at all the television back there. Isn't that terrible? So much. Last summer, thanks to our Republican majorities in the House and Senate, I signed the Great Big Beautiful Bill, the largest tax cuts and many other things for working families in the history of our country. It was actually, we added about 19 different bills. We were going to do one at a time or maybe two or three, but I said, let's just do them all at one time. And thank goodness we did, because the Republicans are out there fighting hard for a lot of good things, like no men and women's sports, like no open borders. We have the safest border we've ever had. We have the safest communities. We have the best records. One thing that's always tough to say because it sounds sort of weird, but we have the least number of murders that we've had in 125 years, all the way back to 1900. Doesn't sound nice. There's no nice way of saying that, but it's back to 1900. But every single American at every income level has more money in their pockets this week because of the Republican tax policies. And we got to win the midterms. If we don't, these policies are going to be taken away from you. The taxes are going to go through the roof. Look at these. Look at the states, these blue states, what is going on there with taxes. Look at what happened in Virginia. We had a good governor there, and somebody got elected that she's gone crazy. She's gone totally crazy. Look at New York. I mean, he's a nice guy. Calls me all the time, says hi. But his policies are no good. He's chasing people out and causing a lot of harm to everybody. I mean, everybody's taxes are going through the roof. After 4 long years of brutal inflation under Biden and congressional Democrats, you deserve every single penny that you're getting now because you had to suffer. You suffered. We had the highest inflation in the history of our country under Biden. Sleepy Joe. He's the worst president we've ever had by far. Average refund. The average refund this season's over $4,000. And here in Las Vegas, many workers have reported refunds of $5,000, $6,000, $7,000,
or more, and they've never had anything. It's all from no tax on tips alone. So, and then don't forget, you have no tax on Social Security for our seniors. A lot of seniors out there. And you have no tax on overtime. You know, this state covers them all. You have the seniors, you have the overtime, but you have no tax on overtime. You have no tax on tips, and you have no tax, think of it, Social Security. So those three things. And, you know, one other thing that we have that nobody talks about, but we've done a lot in the bill. If you have a small business or if you have a farm, you have no inheritance tax. You have no death tax. It's a big thing. You know, people go out and they would borrow money, especially the farmers. I mean, they go out and they leave their farm, and the farm is valuable, but not a lot of cash. They live good. They wouldn't trade anytime. And they go out and they get a bill for taxes for the farm. The parents leave the farm to the children. The children go to the bank. They borrow a lot of money. They mortgage up the farm, and they end up losing the farm. They go bankrupt. They commit suicide, and it's a horrible thing that went on. You have no death taxes now. You have no inheritance taxes. And seeing his take-home pay skyrocket, a bellman at the nearby Paris hotel reportedly said words that no one has ever uttered before. God bless the IRS. Can you believe it? I've never heard that before. We have to patent that. We have to do something. Earlier this week at the White House, I met a wonderful woman named Sharon Simmons, a grandmother driving DoorDash to help support her husband's cancer treatment. She's got serious cancer. He's going to be okay, I think. Sharon delivered McDonald's to the Oval Office. It was a little bit of a, to be honest, it was a little tacky. They come up with these crazy ideas like McDonald's, although that was the biggest ever on Google. They say #1 ever. And the garbage truck. I mean, we do these things in politics. They're a little embarrassing. They're a little tiny embarrassing, but we do them, and you win by landslides. It's one of the. So we got to keep doing them. No, we got to knock on the Oval Office door. This did not happen. That's the first maybe in the history of the Oval Office. And it was a very beautiful woman standing there with 2 big bags of McDonald's hamburgers. And I say, is this really believable? But the point of it was she made $11,000 that she had no idea was coming. And it was really great. It turned out to be really great. So as part of our tax cuts, we also included no tax on overtime. And, one of the things, though, that I think is so great, we have something that's never happened before. It was an idea that I thought up. I went to Scott. I went to some of our people. So when rich people do something, they always look for deductions, right? It's always deductions. They have deductions and everything. And middle class and middle income people, poorer people, they don't get they don't think in terms of deductions. So I said, you buy a car that's American made, give a deduction on the interest you pay on the loan that you use to buy the car. And everyone said, oh, that's good. It sounds simple, but it's never been done before. And you have that too. So when you go out and you take a loan on your car, you deduct the interest. It's a big deal for people. Never happened before. You would think it was sort of basic. I thought it was so brilliant when I thought it. But the truth is, it never happened before. And nobody mentions it, but it's a very big factor. And it's having a huge impact on our car companies, which are expanding like never before. We're selling more cars now. A lot of it has to do with tariffs. You pay no tariffs if you come here. If you don't come here, you pay a lot of tariffs, and we're raising those tariffs very soon. Not on you, it's on people from the outside that don't build their plants here. We have now hundreds of billions. We have actually $18 trillion being invested in the United States because of a lot of reasons, but because of tariffs. Because of tariffs. If they sell their product into our country, they have to pay tariffs. If they make that same product here, they don't. So they're coming in, I'll tell you, pharmaceutical companies are coming in at levels that nobody's ever seen. We're having our drugs made here, our prescription drugs are being made here, which is something that's very important. So our tax cut for overtime workers have already been claimed by more than 26 million Americans, and America's finally had the president the kind of president who believes in them. I believe in rewarding you for the great work you've done, the great job you've done, and for having to suffer for 4 years of embarrassment. Our country was an embarrassment. Our country, a year ago, our country was an embarrassment. And all over the world, they laughed at us. And they don't laugh anymore. They are not laughing. They're not laughing anymore. I don't think anybody, just ask those. I don't want to be a wise guy. I don't want to speak too soon. But we do very well. You notice that we're doing very well. And I will say the war in Iran is going along swimmingly. We can do whatever we want. And it should be ending pretty soon. It was perfect. I mean, it's perfect. It was the power we have, our military. We have the most powerful military anywhere in the world. I built it 4 years, my first 4 years. And we're still building it. We're building it. We have the best military. We have the best equipment in the world, the best rockets and anti-rockets. You know, if you look at the way we shoot, you know, we had 111 rockets shot at one of our ships. I won't name the ship, but it was a beauty. And out of the 111 rockets shot, all 111 rockets, and these things move at about 3,000 miles an hour. You know, it's not like, oh, gee, we have plenty of time to think about it. Every single one of them, 111, were all shot down. Think of that. Shot down. They're laying at the bottom of the sea. So needless to say, it was a ship that they were shooting at. But we've had it. We had 101. We had 101, and then 2 days later, we had 111. Every one of them was hit. That's the equipment that we have is incredible. There's never been anything like it. So in addition to no tax on Social Security, over 51 million seniors now pay. Seniors are loving me, and I love them. Of course, I'm not a senior, so I cater to the seniors, but I don't happen to be a senior myself. Thank you very much. Over 51 million seniors now pay zero federal tax on Social Security income. 51 million. And they never saw that happening. And when I went to him and I said, how much would it cost for about 50 to 60 million seniors not to pay tax? He said, sir, are you kidding? This was Scott. I said, let's do it. Go ahead. And you know what's happened? The economy is doing so well. By the way, we had to do a little journey down to Iran. And I didn't want to do that, but we had to because we can't let them have a nuclear weapon. Can't let them have a nuclear weapon. And, you know, we just hit 50,000 on the Dow. I don't know if you people know what that means. 50,000 on the Dow is unthinkable. They said at the end of his fourth year, maybe, but more likely fifth or sixth year. My fifth or sixth year, that sounds good too. But remember, you know, the hat says 4 more years? It drives the Democrats crazy. It drives them 4 more years, 4 more years. I have to laugh at that one. They go crazy. What a bunch of lunatics they are. You know, we want to get along and we're bipartisan, but after a while you say these people, they're just, you know, they don't want to pay our ICE agents. They don't want to pay our security people. They don't want to take care of our border. They want to have open borders for everybody. They want to have men playing in women's sports. Think of it, men playing in women's sports. It's got to be a 95-5. Maybe it's a 99-1 issue. And I saw a guy today on television, a Democrat that I know. He's trying to justify men playing in women's sports. He's trying to justify open borders. No, we can't let them back in. They'll destroy the country. They'll destroy our country. But millions of retirees like those here in Nevada. And you know, it's a very important word, Nevada. Don't ever say the other way. I'm not going to say it because they'll say it. I won't say it the other way because they'll put it, he said, you lose the whole state. Yeah, I don't know. It sounds pretty good the other way, to be honest with you. Some people, but Nevada is beautiful. And seeing an average deduction over $7,500 this year, which is incredible. The great big beautiful bill is filled with tax cuts Americans are only just beginning to discover. So the tax cuts turned out to be larger than anybody thought, even us. I mean, we didn't think it was going to be as much, but people are getting much more. It's come from that. And the Democrats don't know what to do because they used to ridicule it, the great, big, beautiful bill. And now they're saying, don't mention the words. Just don't talk about it because it's been great. But we got to keep it. We have to win the midterms. We virtually eliminated the so-called, so many taxes. We have like 19 different taxes in all different forms that we eliminated. And we dramatically expanded a thing called school choice, which is a big deal, We made homeschool expenditures, the homeschoolers. Do we have any homeschoolers here? Right? Very good. Congratulations. Homeschool expenditures tax deductible. We created the brand new Trump accounts with Michael and Susan Dell. The Dell family. They're great. What a great family. But he put up $6.25 billion. Namely, he did a good job in life. He's putting up more. He came to me with the idea with some of his friends. His wife is fantastic, by the way. And he said, these accounts where children will grow up, and by the time they're 18 or 20 or 21, they could have $100,000. I mean, they may be poor, and they'll have $100,000. What a big difference. So I just want to thank the Dell family. It's great. Buy their computer. I said, how did you get so rich by doing computers? He said, well, in college, I was good at computers. I'd just sit on my bed, I'd make computers, and people would buy them, and he never stopped. Sort of an amazing story, if you want to know the truth. But we have a $1,000 contribution for every newborn child. Think of that. 5 million have already been opened. It's been incredible. People are going out there doing it. Some are buying it from many other children. Some are taking some richer people are taking lots of people under their wing. We have one man that took the state of Ohio, and he's obviously pretty rich, and he's made the contribution on behalf of so many children. It's really turned out to be amazing, actually. And we made interest on new car loans deductible, which I told you it's a big deal. I think it's really something, but only if it's made here, and that's only if it's made in America, and we're proud to see it being made in America. We used to have, when I was growing up, it would say, everything made in America. It meant it was better. And then over the years, it disappeared. We brought it back, and we make great products now. Today, when you see made in America, it's, generally speaking, I think it's a better product. This tax season, over 1 million Americans already deducted their auto loans and their auto interest. Think of that. And they're saving a write-off. They're having a write-off of over $2,000, sometimes much more. And you get a full write-off. It's pretty amazing. Together, these brand new cuts and deductions in the Republican bill have been claimed by nearly half of all tax filers. So in one form or another, more than 50% have taken advantage of the things that we put into the bill. By the way, we have a lot of other things other than that. We have incentives. We have the expensing for businesses, and the expensing is such a big deal. You have a business, you're allowed to deduct it immediately as opposed to over 38 years and other things. And to me, that's one. We had the best economy in the history of our country in my first term, and we're blowing it out now. We're blowing it away now. And despite our little diversion to the lovely country of Iran, lovely place, but we had to do that because otherwise bad things could happen, really bad things. So we've sent out, and I think you're going to see some incredible results, for those people that question it. You're going to see some, the job we've done has been amazing. The ships are out there today, and they're saying, don't come here, don't even think about it. And you have these massive tankers saying, let's get the hell out of here. It's amazing. It's amazing. But we've sent out $30 billion more in refunds than at the same time last year, and employees who adjust their withholding levels now will see an immediate surge in their take-home pay for the remainder of 2026. You're going to see a big surge. The numbers are really tremendous, and that's why I'm out here. If they were bad, I wouldn't be here today. I'd be sitting home watching television, I think. We can never forget that every single radical left Democrat in Congress voted to deny the American people these life-saving changes. They voted for tax increases. They wanted your taxes to go up. I've never seen it before. All my life, I've been sort of always interested in politics. Never did it before. I decided to do it a little while ago, not too long. But I've never seen it before. It always was I'd watched politicians for 30 years, 40 years. We will lower your taxes. We will lower your taxes. These are the only people, the Democrats now, the modern day Democrats. We will raise your taxes. And I just don't think it's winnable. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little old-fashioned, I guess. But they voted for the largest tax hike in history. The Democrats just voted for the largest tax hike in history. Democrats in Congress caused this, the inflation. The fake news gets on me. I have to be very accurate when I speak because they'll say, he's exaggerated. So the real number is 48 years. That inflation's the highest in 48 years. I don't believe that. I think it's the highest in history. But they say, he said history, and they say, but I'm okay with 48 years. 48 years is long enough. What do you think? But the real number they say is 48 years. I believe it's the highest inflation, and they caused it. And they then wanted to raise your tax. So their tax raise that they wanted was more than $5 trillion, which to each person is probably about $4,000 or $5,000. And they wanted to raise your taxes. The great big beautiful bill also slashed taxes on millions of American small businesses, including restaurants, dry cleaners, corner stores. What is a corner store? I've never heard that term. I know what a corner store is, but I've never heard it described. A corner store. Who the hell wrote that, please? And more. As of today, over 12 million small business flyers have paid nearly $7,000 less in taxes. So on average, your small businesses have paid about $7,000 less. That's a lot for a small business. In large part, thanks to our cuts today, the economy is booming. Our economy is booming. You don't read about it. You don't see it so much because of what's going on in Iran, which is really, it's been 2 months. 2 months. You've been in other wars for 18 years, 4 years with me. I'm in there for a month. Well, he said he'd get out a month. Did you see where I did a list last week? 17 years in Vietnam and 5 years in Afghanistan and more, much more than that, and all these different places. And I said, we were in there for 2 months. And you know what? We're going to have victory very shortly. This is not... And against a very tough, smart country. These people were fighters. And, I don't want to claim it before the fact, but they have no Navy left. 158 ships at the bottom of the sea. 158, think of it. 158. I got angry. I said, why didn't you save them? We could have used them, They would rather shoot them than save them. I said, what the hell? It's only money. But some of them were good. They had one named the Soleimani. You know what the Soleimani? We took him out. He was the worst, one of the worst terrorists in the history of this country, this world. They killed many of our people. Many of our people have been killed. When you see a young soldier mostly going around without legs, without arms, with their faces so badly injured, it was Soleimani that did that. The roadside bombs, they were just terrible. He was the father of the roadside bomb. We killed him. And that had a big impact on Iran. That had a big impact on Iran. Because he was, I think it maybe would be a different story if he were around. He was a horrible person, a horrible human being. He was a mad genius, but it probably would have been more difficult. We still would have won by fast, but it would have been not probably as fast as it has gone. In the report released last week, core inflation was down to the lowest level in 5 years. And very shortly, we're going to be probably 8 or 9 years. Don't forget, we're having some fake inflation because of the fuel, the energy prices, which everybody said was going to $250. We were talking about that, Scott. They said $250, $300. Today, what was it? It finished at $89 or $90, right? And that's in the, we haven't settled yet. Maybe we won't, but I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. But think of that, how well we're doing, and we have this. A lot of people thought that inflation would be through the roof and the stock market would crash. Well, we just hit an all-time new stock market. So it's amazing. I had people, we have consultants, great guys that we both know, we see, and they're very talented. Sir, if you do this, fuel is going to go to $300 a barrel, right? One guy in particular who we like a lot. But I said, I don't think so. I think we're going to be good. We always find a way. You got to find a way. But, sir, don't do it, sir. $300 a barrel. It's going to be a wild thing. It's going to be horrible. The depression is going to happen. Well, it's not going to happen because we just hit a brand new all-time high. Then fuel's at 89. It's actually a lot lower than that in a lot of areas. So, but let's not get away from, let's see what happens over the next week or so. I think you're going to be very impressed. And if you are, vote for the Republicans in the midterms, okay? But the king of Saudi Arabia, a very smart guy, invested $2 trillion. We have Qatar, we have UAE, Saudi Arabia. The king of Saudi Arabia, they invested trillions of dollars in our country. And he said to me a year and a half ago, I was with him, he said, 2 years ago, you were a dead country. Everyone thought America was finished. We were a laughingstock with a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs. He was so horrible. It's not even funny. It's like he was horrible. He allowed 25 million people into the country, totally unvetted and unchecked. And, that's a tough, we're still getting them out. And we had 11,888 murderers, 50% of whom murdered more than one people. Let into our country. They emptied their jails into America. But the king said, 2 years ago, you were a dead country, and now you're the hottest country anywhere in the world. Look at us. We're the hottest country in the world. So, pretty good, right? So, to talk more about these incredible things that are happening, I'm going to ask really a respected guy, a great guy, too. He's difficult, this guy. He's difficult, but he's great. And, when he speaks, the whole market gets soothed. When I speak, the market goes a little jittery. And they say, Scott, go out there, clean it up for me, Scott. But no, he's a fantastic guy. And Scott, you're going to say a few words. And then we're going to hear from a few of the people, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Officer, Cruz Littlefield, the co-founder and CEO of a local nonprofit called Power to Parent, Erin Phillips, a bartender and makeup artist, Erica Cassell, and a longtime culinary worker, Nicole Williams, and then we're going to hear from a few others. We're going to go pretty quickly. But, Scott, you want to say a few words, please? Thank you.
Yes, sir, and thank you. And, Mr. President, it's an honor of a lifetime to be part of this administration, and I thought that your supporters here would like a little behind the scene of your incredible first year. This administration has gotten more done in the first year, and let me tell you how that happens. I remember going to see the president February 2024 at Mar-a-Lago, candidate Trump, and he was talking about no tax on tips. He said he'd been out here and he had the idea, no tax on tips. Service workers should keep their tips. Fast forward, July 2025, the working family tax cuts, the one big beautiful bill gets passed by Congress, and here we are, April 2026, within 24 months, President Trump's idea became the law of the land, and we are seeing record tax returns, and the people of Nevada, the people of Clark County, are way higher than the national average because of no tax on tips.
Thank you.
President Trump's policies are reviving the American dream. Yesterday was tax day, and under President Trump, we are celebrating how much more money hardworking Americans will keep, not how much the government will take. Thanks to President Trump and congressional Republicans, the working family tax cuts helps every American chart their own path. Throughout this tax season, I have heard from American workers, families, diner and restaurant owners, bartenders, waiters and waitresses in communities across the country, and it is clear that workers and families are feeling the benefits. The administration is upholding the foundational principle that hardworking Americans should be rewarded with the fruits of their labor, not punished by tax hikes, and this tax season proves it. In households across America, 53 million filers had taken advantage of at least one of the president's signature tax cuts: no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, enhanced tax relief for our great seniors, and the ability to deduct interest on new car loans if it's an American car. And this is the refunds and the tax cuts have exceeded our expectations. Here in Las Vegas, millions of hard-working Americans have benefited, and I want you all to remember, every single Democrat voted against this program. So more than 6 million filers, they have taken the advantage of no tax on tips. 25 million filers, no tax on overtime. And this is what happens when policies are made for workers and not for DC. And also, as the head of the IRS, I want to also tell all of you two things. Go to trumpaccounts.gov if you have not registered your children for Trump accounts. It's very easy to remember, trumpaccounts.gov, and fill out form number 4547. For those of you who have children born during President Trump's term, Treasury will seed that account with $1,000. For those of you with children under 18, you can add to those accounts. Great philanthropists like Michael, Susan, Dell are adding to that. And the other thing, too, is I want to remind everyone, change your withholding. If you're getting a big tax return, a big tax refund this year, it's because you didn't change your withholding last year. If you change your withholding now, you'll get an automatic raise in your real income. Your weekly, monthly income will go up right here, right now. And I just want to thank President Trump for championing this program, because I can tell you, some of the more traditional Republicans on economics didn't want this to be part of the program. President Trump fought for this the whole way, and this is why we have a new, bigger Republican Party. It's because of policies like this. So thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Before I introduce, I just want to say two things that to me very important. So right now in this country, we have more people working than at any time in the history of our country. Think of that. And also, that's pretty good. And, while in Europe and a lot of other places, they're looking for oil, they're looking for gas, they want gasoline, they're having a hard time. We have a lot. So at this moment, right now, we have more oil production than Russia and Saudi Arabia, by far, Russia and Saudi Arabia put together, if you add them up together. And by next year, it will be double that amount. So it's pretty amazing. Those two facts. More people working than ever before. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Officer Cruz Littlefield, please.
Mr. President, thank you so much and welcome to Las Vegas. My name is Cruz Littlefield. I'm a local police officer and a Las Vegas native. I have a deep appreciation for the city and have made it my calling to now protect and serve those who also call it home. With the passage of the great, big, beautiful bill, my wife and I have benefited from the elimination of taxes on overtime, allowing us to stretch every dollar in an increasingly expensive world. With less financial stress, I'm able to be a better and effective asset to my community and more present with my family. We also just welcomed our newborn baby girl a week ago, and have already contacted our CPA to make sure that the Trump account gets started and set up.
That's good. That's great.
Thanks to you, we're now securing her a better financial future than we were ever given as kids. Mr. President, thank you for your time. And thank you for your continued efforts to support the American people, especially here in Las Vegas. I have family and friends. This is my brother.
Oh, good.
But I have family and friends in Las Vegas who are barbers, small business owners, bartenders, and first responders. And every burden lifted for them is a step towards a stronger and safer community. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Cruz. Good job. Good job. The co-founder and CEO of a local nonprofit doing really well called Power to Parent, Erin Phillips.
I'm right here, actually. Hi. I'm Erin Phillips. It's an honor to be here as a mom and a founder of this nonprofit organization. We believe that empowered parents protect kids. And so everything we do flows out of that idea. And as a mom of 5, this is deeply personal to me. It's not just something that, I talk about regularly. We've seen so many families, especially in our community, that feel outmatched by systems. And so what we do is we try to empower them to advocate for themselves through policy and really just help with their children's education in general and any issue that is a parental rights issue. So that's what we do. And I just want to thank you for what you've done in regards to protecting women's sports. We know that, when we protect women's sports, we're really protecting the opportunities that our daughters have. And I have daughters myself, and so it's so important. And so many girls have already been hurt. So thank you for what you've done on that level. And then, it also helps them know that they're worth protecting and that they matter. And I think that's something that we haven't shown our girls prior to this. One more thing that I just really want to highlight is the federal tax credit scholarship. And I just need you to know that this is a game changer for families and who feel stuck. I think oftentimes we have these families that I already mentioned that they feel outmatched by systems and they are stuck in a system that is not working for their child. And so what this scholarship does is it expands education freedom. And it gives parents the power to choose the right education for their children. And families that we serve in our community, it means hope, it means access, it means a future for their children that they otherwise wouldn't be able to afford. And we are already preparing to help families access this money here in Nevada. So thank you for that. And lastly, I just want to say that I'm grateful for your leadership because you recognize the critical role that families play. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Great job. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Jeb. Thank you very much. Bartender and makeup artist Erica Cassell.
Hi, President Trump. I'm a makeup artist and a bartender here in Las Vegas. I just wanted to say thank you for all you've done for us. I know as a bartender, the no tax on tips is amazing, especially, I'm gonna start crying, guys, expecting mom. It's great for my daughter as well. The Trump account's also amazing, so thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good. Well, you enjoy it, and good luck. Good job. Thank you, darling. And a longtime culinary worker, a great person, Nicole Williams. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole.
Hello, Mr. President. I am a longtime bartender on the Las Vegas Strip, and I first heard the idea of no tax on tips mentioned to me by my friend Alita, who helped manage your campaign in Nevada, and she's amazing. She mentioned it to me, and I started thinking about what an awesome idea it was, because in Nevada we have what is called a tip compliance. Not a lot of people know about that, where the IRS comes in and they say, you're gonna make this amount of tips in an hour, we're gonna tax you on that. Even if you don't make that amount of tips, you're gonna get taxed on it. So I thought that would be an incredible opportunity to keep some more cash in my pocket. So then she reached out, and I actually spoke at an event for you for No Tax on Tips. I spoke with you the day that Robert Kennedy endorsed you for president, which was an amazing experience, so thank you for that. And so I did campaign for you, and I was like, I want to see this policy come to fruition. So when I heard about the One Big Beautiful Bill and that being included in it, it was just a reminder that it's promises made, promises kept for you. And so to see that come to fruition was amazing, and I do have 7 children, so the earned income tax credit for them is going to be helpful as well. Waiting on my husband, who's in real estate, to get his receipts together, but we will expect to see a greater tax return we can use for a car, or for our son going to school, like a trade school. It's our oldest child. So we're very excited, and I just want to thank you so much for getting that done for the people and for my family.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you. And just in wrapping up, a man who's been with me, I think every event I've done out here, He's your lieutenant governor, highly respected. He's really a good man. He's been to every event. Stavros Anthony. Stavros.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary, first of all, welcome to the greatest city in the world, Las Vegas, and to the great state of Nevada. So one of my responsibilities as a lieutenant governor is the chairman of the Nevada Tourism Commission. So I work with a great group of individuals to promote tourism in Las Vegas and in the state of Nevada. And there's a lot of reasons why people come to Las Vegas and keep coming back to Las Vegas. And one of those is because we have the greatest hospitality employees in the world here in Las Vegas. Absolutely. We all remember 2 years ago you had another one of your massive rallies here in Nevada. It was actually at Sunset Park, just south of here. And you made this no tax on tips pledge. And everybody heard it for the first time, and people were just excited. And as Nicole mentioned, it wasn't just a pledge, but you did it. So on behalf of all the hospitality workers here in Las Vegas and Nevada, thank you for putting more money in the pockets of our families. Thank you. And just one other thing. I'm a former captain with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I know how much overtime these police officers work and how much overtime a lot of employees work. And for you to make that pledge and come through and no taxes on overtime, again, thank you very much for putting money in the pockets of our families. God bless you all.
Thank you, Stavros. So I just want to say this is a special state. It's a special place. We've done so well here. I have so many friends here. It was great before I ran for politics, ran for office, and right up till this moment, and even this event, there's a lot of love. It's just such love. And, you know, those three things, but especially here, but really here it's all three. It's overtime, right? And it's, you take a look at the tips. The tips are, I don't even know which is the biggest. You could probably take a poll. And it's Social Security. No tax on Social Security, who would think? And when I did it, it was a pretty big number. Could I ask you, which is the best of the three? No tax on, clap, no tax on Social Security. That's not bad. Okay, ready? No tax on tips. No tax on overtime. You know, I think Social Security won. Hey. So much for no tax on tips. I think Social Security won. Hey, I just want to thank you all. We love you all. The country is doing really well. We're respected all over the world. We are respected, I think like never before. Thank you. I think like never before. And thank you all very much. God bless you all. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Stavros. Great job.
All right, President Trump holding a no tax on tips roundtable in Las Vegas tonight. This as we're less than 24 hours from the president's trip to Arizona. Well, he'll speak at a TPUSA event tomorrow. We have quite the rally pre-show lined up for tomorrow, so we'll see you then. Meantime, this live stream brought to you by some great sponsors, including mypillow.com/RSBN. You can save up to 80% on this warehouse moving sale. A lot of great products, as you guys know. On top of that, some great prices. So it's a win-win when it comes to mypillow.com/RSBN. Speaking of winning, RSBN donating. If you'd like to donate to the network, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. As we grow and expand here at the network, and including travel costs and all the wild stuff when it comes to growth and expansion. Of course, Robert McNeely in Arizona for tomorrow's huge event in Arizona. Also, our crew alongside him there as we get ready to have live coverage throughout the day tomorrow, talking with we the people, just like you see, just like we do here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. For all of us here at RSBN, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.